settle. Hard days, no way with a heavy metal. Real life main stage, tear it up, rebels. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. We won't stop.
Ni hao, I'm Tiger and Lilik.
No, Lilik.
More steps toward unifying your Battlegrounds experience, destructible terrain on Tago, and a new way to hide your vehicles. All this and more as we dive into the Update 35.2 patch report. First up, we're continuing to work toward unifying your Battlegrounds experience. This update adds vending machines, previously a Miramar exclusive, to Erangel and Tago. You can also keep an eye out for medical vending machines that distribute first aid kits, bandages, and med kits. All these machines still have their chance at a jackpot, so test your luck when you run into one. In addition to this, Erangel is also getting Tago's destructible pots. Breaking these has a chance to give boosts, healing items, throwables, and even secret room keys. So embrace your inner Link and smash away. And speaking of destroying stuff, destructible terrain and the red zone have made their way to Tago. As before, explosives and the Panzerfaust will alter the terrain they hit, adding a bit more realism to that big, cool explosion. We've also added the pickaxe to the map for those who'd rather dig their trench a little more discreetly. For now, destruction on Tago will only affect terrain, so don't worry about the building you're in caving down on top of it. And on the topic of discreetness, you can now find vehicle camo netting on Erangel and Miramar. Deploying the camo netting to your vehicle will help it to blend in with the terrain around it, making it harder for enemies to see while obscuring tire positions. We've also toned down C4 a little by making it a deployable weapon that requires 4 seconds to set. This adds a little more risk to the reward instead of it being used as a nuclear grenade. There's also a new Survivor Pass, enhancements made to the inflatable boat, some improvements to the flare gun's UX, and lots more info about everything else we talked about. So be sure to check out the patch notes for full details. Update 35.2 is here. So pack your favorite explosives and get ready for a little light terraforming on Tago. Just make sure you hide your getaway vehicle from the other survivors. We'll see you on the battlegrounds.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players' Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome in to another event of the PUBG Players Tour. My name is Ko. I'm joined by a different co-cast today. I'm switching through them every single week, new people, just to keep me entertained. How are you doing tonight, Gibson?
I'm doing good, and I promise that you're not the reason why people keep coming and going inside of PPT, right? You know, Mark's away, Falix, the stuff going on. So you went to yourselves, well, we need to get another European-based caster, no matter where he casts. So you brought me in.
Yeah, that was literally what I said. I said, Americas, they have so many EU-based casters, just yoink one of them. You know, finally get to cast in your own region. You don't have to stay up at night. And you get to cast some EMEA games. I have to be careful of saying EU. We talked about this before the stream. I'm terrible at regions, terrible at geography. But we have 6 games of EU tonight. We're getting another roll of that player tour on the way. We're starting with another Players Cup tonight. So we're going to look at the format in a second here just to catch you guys up on everything. And we're going to see that we are currently in that first Player Cup here. I said best of 6. I meant best of 8. We are playing 4 games tonight, Gibson.
Yeah, 4 games tonight. Same across both, you know, predominantly Western regions, where 4 games in the Cups. And when you think about the way they've kind of played out, it's the same in both regions, right, Koa? Where the first Player Cup, you've got all the really good teams that either didn't qualify internationally, or if there isn't an event on, it's just all the good teams. They go get the job done. They move on to the Masters of the Super Cup. And then from there, you kind of see some of the newer teams coming in.
Yeah. This is the harder one. This is where all the invited teams come to play. This is where all the top teams are here. And if you look at today's teams graphic, you see a ton of names that you've seen before. If you've been watching these cups, then many of these names will not surprise you. A few names you haven't seen before. Tung 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 Sahur, a team that will make all of the Zoomers in chat absolutely rejoice. Then we have Okak at the end there. And we do have, for example, the No Names as well, a team, NN there in the bottom left that I want to talk about a little bit, because that is a team with, well, they call themselves No-Namers, but massive names on the roster. That's Dante, Presenti, Rox, +1. So they've been playing the qualifiers with, I think, Calter and Nabat, but that is Win or Die and the Gaming Gladiators sort of fusing together. Because I've been informed the Gaming Gladiators are exiting PUBG. So that's some big names on that squad. And despite not being invited here today, they qualified, and they're definitely one of the teams I'm looking at.
You know what? When you think about the lineage and the kind of the way that Win or Die and the GG roster have played in the past, I think this is a net positive. Like, yeah, you might be losing 2 teams, but you're getting a much better singular team in NN. So I'm excited to see them. But you look at that top row. You've got Bushido, Ascend, Foot, FaZe, EF. All of these teams have have shown that they can play internationally at different points of others. So this is a really strong lobby from top to bottom, Ko.
For sure. This is some of the strongest teams in Europe showing up, despite a few of our teams being in Shanghai right now, playing PGS, right? You might have been watching the finals of PGS 8 just a few hours ago. 5 EU teams in the finals. Everybody else is here. Everybody that's not at PGS is here tonight, and some of our regional partners have shown up big in the last few weeks as well. That Super Cup last week, Ascend was looking like they might win it, but they did get beaten by Win or Die. So that is 3 of the Win or Die players now playing for no names, and some of our regional partners, like you said, right, big names. Foot Esports, they got 14th last week, Gibson.
I think that we're seeing, and it's happening in NA too, or the Americas. I'm the same as you. You keep saying EU instead of EMEA. I have this habit of saying NA, but in the Americas, you're seeing some of the stronger teams kind of having hiccups or little moments where things that they would regularly do is not working for them. I think one of the biggest things that we see, Ko, and I don't know if it's happening in Europe as well, is where it's so much harder to push a solo player.
Yeah.
And you'll see these teams like try to push a solo player the way they would in regular first person perspective. But if you're a solo and you're behind a tree, or if you're, using a wall, you've essentially got the advantage big time in those gunfights, and the top teams need to get used to that.
Top teams need to get used to that, and that's something where really you see a bit of a difference, and we actually have seen a few teams that we didn't see on the FPP esports team before win big fights that way, right? Win 1v3s against top teams, and that's something that's happened here as well in the EMEA region, and that's where the advantage comes in, right? That's what we talk about. It's not a full reset, it's still PUBG esports. You're still gonna have to struggle against teams that have been doing this for years, but you get a bit of a soft reset. You get a bit of a nicer way in if you've been playing a lot of TPP, or you're just ready to play a lot of TPP right now, because a lot of our pro teams that we're talking about here in that top row, they're still mainly focusing on FPP and trying to compete in that circuit as well. If you're committing to TPP, if you're new to TPP, it doesn't get easier to get into PUBG esports than it is right now.
Yeah, it's really easy. These events happening all year round. I think one of the big things that we've seen in the Americas is some new teams coming in, some new blood getting in there. And we're seeing some of the teams that would be thinking about qualifying for international events, putting a focus on TPP. Like, one team I want to speak about just really briefly is LG. They've said because there's such a large prize pool over the course of the year inside this game mode, they're going to put a lot of effort into it, because at the end of the day, this is your job. This is where you're trying to make money. Yeah. So with there being such a large prize pool, and with it being split throughout the year, you need to put some focus on it to increase your coffers.
100%. And this is a situation that's going to happen throughout the year, right? We're going to have tons and tons of tournaments. We're going to have circuit after circuit. And a lot of these circuits, there will be teams who are traveling to international events, and there will be teams who are staying home. And if you're a team that's sort of on the cusp there, you're sort of a high, like low tier 1, high tier 2 team, you're gonna end up playing as one of the favorites in these TPV events all year. So you might as well make the best out of it. And 100%, it's happening here. It's happening in Americas. Would you say in Americas, now that I have you here, that the big names are still dominating the tournaments? Have you how are the Falcons doing? How is the Team Liquid doing? How is that going?
Falcons have played 1-1-1, which is no surprise. They've gone off to the US. We've seen a lot of good things out of Liquid. Another team is Al Qudsia. They've been really good from time to time. I think one of the things that surprised me is some of the really good South American teams have not been as good in this perspective. Okay. So it's something worth keeping an eye on. But here's the question I want to throw to you that I've seen a lot of in the Americas. The first week or two, we saw some TPP teams coming in, some new squads, and it wasn't pretty. They came in and it was like, wow. There's a massive gulf here. The macro is completely different. The mechanical ability is completely different. we've seen them get better. Now, they're not competing yet, but those teams that have come in, they're sticking with it. They're getting a little bit better every week. Are we getting something similar over in the side of the pond?
Oh, for sure. We've seen some new names come in, and we've seen them struggle, for sure, 100%. But we've also seen a lot of the big names struggle, and we've seen smaller successes. But I would say it's mainly, I wouldn't describe them as TPP players. I would just explain them as like newer teams in the PUBG esports in general. They've played a bit of FPP as well, but they're kind of still new, fresh, young. Those are the teams that we see popping off time and time again because they're putting in more time right now. They might not have put in the thousands of hours that the older guard has put in over the last few years, but they're putting in the hours now, and they're putting the hours into TPP as well. And those teams we've seen popping off. And then we've also seen a lot of teams consistently make these player cups, like consistently do well in scrims, and consistently making finals as well. But then in the finals, they just get overrun a little bit. There's just too many big names. You have your Win or Dies, Ascend, FaZe Clan, Gaming Gladiators, and they can't quite get up to the same level most of the time.
No, it takes some time. It really does to get up to speed with it. And the big thing that impresses me about EMEA is just the sheer quantity of teams you look at Norway, there's 100+ teams inside of Norway where 3/4 of it is Norwegian. You have tons of teams in Finland. Germany has got so many competitive good players. Like, it is so competitive to qualify for any event inside of the EMEA. So to get into this as well, I'm sure it's pretty tough. But if you want to give it a go, ! Register in chat where you can sign up, take part in the scrims coming up next week to play in next week's cup. Because Cole, as I said, they come thick and fast.
They're coming fast. We're going to play a cup over the weekend. We're going to play tonight and tomorrow, 8 games total. And then the scrims are just going to start for the second player cup of this circuit. But we have the first game on our hands. We have a plane in the air. We are kicking off a game. And we are going to Miramar. One more point I want to add is, yes, you mentioned a lot of countries that have a ton of players. But if you look at these qualifiers, there is so many CIS players qualifying, and they are grinding the game like no other region. They're putting in more hours, I feel like, and they're just, the thing you said about ALG, just realizing, hey, there's a pretty serious prize pool here that we can grind out. The entire CIS region jumps on every one of those opportunities. So you're watching the teams tonight. There's going to be a few Europeans, and there's going to be a whole lot of CIS teams just filling up every other slot in the lobby.
I love it though. Like every single international event, there's one new CIS player who pops up on one of the rosters, and everyone's like, who is this guy? But if you've been watching scrims, you're like, this guy's been playing for months and he has been insane. And we've seen so many good players from that region. And I'm a fan. You know, I'm a big fan of how players from CIS play the game. I know that they play a lot later than we do at night. You know, if they do scrims, they're starting at 8, 9 p.m. for them sometimes. But mechanically, they're insane. I'd actually argue, from a mechanical standpoint, it's very similar to what we see in Brazil. You have so many really good mechanical players. The second they get the macro down, they really up a gear.
Yeah. It's easier. It's easier to learn macro than it is to learn mechanics. And that's something I think Purdy said a while back on one of his Brutally Honest videos. It's just, you pick a fresh player who doesn't really understand the game, but has all the mechanics already. And if you manage to teach him the game, then you've got a prodigy on your hands. And that's what we see. I feel like every event, right? Every global event, it's not just some CIS player that pops off. There's always one Korean that just completely destroys a lobby. There's usually a few Chinese guys who just pop off completely. Just all these young kids just getting put in the right place at the right time. And then they get to pop off completely.
Look at Kiss for Forest Natural Gaming. Like, he has been insane. And I'll be honest, the first time here we go. This is the first fight of the night. Slam. They've got OCAT not too far away, and something we've seen a lot of in NA, the M16, but looks like he's going to bail right on out of there. We're not going to see the first player fall of today's cup.
And they both went in there without guns, right? We talked about this a little bit before the games, and you mentioned teams camping Team Liquid, going into compounds super early and waiting for Liquid to pull up. This has been a theme of TPP. I think it's been a theme of PUBG in general, where teams tend to go for these high priority compounds so early now. But in TPP, even more than in FPP. It's just that little bit easier to defend the compounds. So teams commit so early. SlamG as well right here. already committing 2 players to center. Bogora is going to scout out that fire station. And he's not the only one. It's Fuzz over there. It's Formulation Gaming getting interested as well. Everybody's already sending for these center compounds.
Yeah, that's it. Like, once you're trenched in this game mode, it is so difficult to get moved out of these positions. And we're seeing that in NA as well. Another trend that we see so often is teams losing players on rotations early. Like, so I don't know what it's like in EMEA, but in NA, you're very surprised to see 2 teams with 4 players up in the final circle. Like, it's always a 3v2v1, and there we go. That's going to be the first knock as Magor. He outstayed his welcome. He was spotted out, and that'll be the first point on the board for Formulation Gaming.
Good start for Formulation. They will bring us back nicely to our talk about old guard and new talent. They have a little bit of both. They have 3 absolute veterans of the scene, and then Cappy as the young blood on there, who not that fresh anymore, but he's still very young compared to the rest of that squad.
Didn't Cappy go to a PGC as a sub? Was it 2 years ago? Like, I remember seeing him play with Marsalek.
Yeah. He was full on. He was on the lineup. He was 18 back then. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, he was insane. Like, him, that team with Polish Power.
Yeah.
When he was playing alongside Marsalek, like, that team had so much unrealized potential. And I think that I felt bad for Cappy that they all kind of split up. But with the players he has around him now, he's going to have to be the gunner. He's going to have to be the player that presses the issue onto the other teams.
For sure. Gonna be interesting as well. Interesting to see him back with Marsalek. They had a bit of a fallout, but now back together. Seems like Marsalek is inevitable. If you are a Polish PUBG player. Storm on Crest here, picking up one of the no-names. Taking him out of the lobby before the game really starts. Power Grid versus the Shanties. And to your point, a lot of teams losing a singular player here, but I think we've seen plenty of 4v4s. Maybe EMEA is just a little bit better at keeping 4 alive.
Maybe. I think I'm in one of those if I speak, I'm in trouble moments where I can't win because I'm either going to compliment EMEA or compliment Americas, and the other side is not going to like me very much. So maybe I'll stay quiet as Reactive tries to go loud, finding another knock onto NM, but Nabat will get on out of there pretty early. But for Storm on Request, another team that I've had the pleasure of casting a few times in the past, it's good for them to get a point up on the board nice and early. But you look at that circle, if you've, there's so many teams already inside the zone. Like Ascender just making their way in from that north. They made that wide rotate that you'll see them do quite frequently. I actually like the position Kiliakai's gotten into already as that forward scout too. Like, look how much space there is.
Look how much information as well. He's so high up there in a second. When he gets into the compound and he starts looking at the map, he will see so much from there. So that's going to be really, really good information for Ascend. And maybe they even leave a Paints a little bit further north and get a bit of information on that side, like north of Monte Nuevo. And then the circle might still go east, and they might still not have a ton of options, but you set yourself up for the options you get, right? You play the chances you get, you play the circles you get. And that is looking like a solid start for Ascend. Super uncontested on that western side as well. Just nobody else seems interested at all in playing the western side of the map.
The best thing is, if you're that far west as well, all you got to do is look in. You're just looking internal because the odds of someone pushing behind you are incredibly unlikely. It really sets you up for success later on in the game. Free side though, Cantix, he's got Fairy Tail pushing his way, so I think his best option is to get out of dodge before he can get hurt, and that's exactly what he is going to do. And you'll see a lot of that as well, where they'll hold the compound as a solo, but the second any pressure gets on them at all, you fall back and play with the rest of the team, so no surprises here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a game in itself. How much do you bluff these compounds? When do you have to fall away? What compounds can you play to leave? If you've been watching any of the Falcons POV streams, it's something they talk about a lot. Who leaves in which split? Which compound would we fight for? Which compound would we leave? And then somebody will say, well, we don't really want my compound, but it's also hard to leave. And then at that point, you just got to give it up, right? That was a compound that was easy to leave. That was a split that was easy to group for a free side. So I decided to bluff it out. And then as soon as somebody calls the bluff, you got to pull together.
And then, like you said, some of those compounds that are hard to get out of, you'll leave a player to play their life. But so frequently, you'll see a situation where a player gets a knock, and that makes the decision for the team. It's like, he's got a knock, he's still alive, we've got to go help him out now to try win that fight to become winnable. But FaZe Clan, they've lost Nail Up earlier. They're trying to get a kill confirmed here off onto the distance, as another player for No Names will fall off in the distance as rocks will go down. But I think that this res will be pulled off, so no kill just yet for Corexy, but damage being dealt.
Yeah, FaZe playing with Mexi last week. Now playing back with Corexy and picking up Nail Up for the squad to fill out the gaps. They've been very impressive, some of the cups, and then a little underwhelming others. Hard to find consistency in that format, especially when you're trying to learn a new game mode, when you're trying to figure out the teams around you. I think it's fair to say that they haven't been dominating. Paint on the other side. I was looking a little dicey. Takes a ton of damage there and barely falls back in time for Ascend. Remember, Ascend was super, super split across that whole map. So any of them going down is absolute disaster for them.
Yeah, I think the only thing that worked out there was the fact that Fairy Tail were right beside him. So it kind of took Quint's attention away from getting that knock. And you can just see, like, Pains is there. You've also got the POV on the Fairy Tail. But for the likes of Quint, you've got to be very careful because April is closing that gap quickly. You've got two players playing on the ridge line. For Pains at this point, you've got a fresh helmet. At this sort of a range, only a Bolty is going to instant knock you. So he can keep on peeking. He can keep on putting a little bit of pressure onto the rest of the lobby because he's not going to lose too much. Like it takes a lot of skill to get a knock onto a player in this position that quick.
Yeah. It does, but then on the other side of the coin is he doesn't really want to be putting pressure on anyone. He just wants the information. And look at that shift now. Holy, that shift is so far west that the map split is even cutting it off because we just can't fit it on the map. It's going really, really far west, and Ascend is suddenly looking amazing. Slam G as well in that church area. I think that's Belief on the south. Looking really, really good. And everybody else on that eastern side is either just running the gauntlet or making a wide wrap. I can already see Freeside on the north, for example. They are going north around. Vorpal Sword on the southeast probably want to go south around. But everybody that's going straight is going to have a tough time.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. Like, I think Vorpal Sword's making the right decision going down by Valle del Mar. Foot are going to follow them directly inside the circle because everywhere else is contested. But I'm looking at some of those positions like Slam G. Great spot in the center of the circle. Ascend are the same. But look at Freeside. They could become a problem for Ascend a little bit later, Cole, because they're going to come right down that main road from El Pozo. And with that, it means Ascend can't quite look central as much as they'd like to.
I gotta worry about both, but I think they're okay here. Just taking that high ground, taking that mountaintop, and then take one more spot with it. And it's looking like Chris wants something across the road here. So we just saw him send it down there. We just saw him take another bit of a spot. Maybe now shifting into a 2-2. They have to be careful though, because yeah, sends like this from Bushido, right? They have zero control over. Bushido just blasted down the road. Ascend can't do anything about it. So when they do split themselves, they have to be careful. But okay, Tree just seems to have just flown on into FaZe Clan here.
Yeah, they pushed it in towards Chimacera and they were made to pay the lead price. FaZe Clan picking up a couple of kills on the board for them, and they'll just toss out some smokes, pick up some utility, something that is so key in this game mode, maybe even more so than first person, is those nades, those explosives. That's what we'll see. But Fairy Tail, Conf is getting pulled up on. This should be a chance to get a knock, but no. That'll be Conf driving or moving on up, trying to get the angle, but not going to be able to find it for now. But this is a position for Conf where he's got to be careful. Little isolated from the rest of the team, and if he goes down, Cole, it's curtains, because Fairy Tail aren't coming this way to help him out, especially with April holding a very central compound.
For sure. He has to fall away from this one. Bit of an awkward spot as well, right? Because people get so close below you, and then you can't peek anymore, because any window in the city could be an opponent staring at you. It gets a little tricky, and you realize that falls away, and he doesn't need that anymore as well. This is a fairly northern edge spot, and Fairy Tail has so many locations that they're occupying here in the center. I'm gonna opt for a 3-1 split and put themselves in a really, really good spot for this late game. So we have lost a few members early here, and we're still seeing a few fights here. I think Foot getting a long-range knock there, Keely taking some long-range shots. But that has led us to a lot of teams shifting into good spots here in Phase 2 and just waiting for that Phase 3 to hit. So Losing tons of players early, but that keeps people alive now because there is more space now.
Then when you actually see the map like FaZe, just a little south of them, you've got Foot, one of the other big teams inside this lobby. They're going to be keeping an eye on everything that goes on with FaZe Clan as these two teams play a little game of leapfrog with each other to try to get a little further than the other one into the circle to get the better angle. But Koa, we're getting ready for that next shift. This is usually the one that causes chaos in a circle like this because most of the teams will be kicked out of position. And look at that, way up to the northwest.
That is crazy. That is crazy as well because look at like how few teams are in the circle. This is half of the circle is just Ascend and Freeside. And then the entire other 12 teams are east of the mountains and they're massively separating this. It's not easy to traverse these mountains. If you're wrapping around like a Vorpal Swords is, that is very doable. But just sending it across here is a nice way to die, a nice way to lose players, cars, everything. So crazy shift for a lot of our teams, crazy good for Ascend and especially Freeside because they have so much space here now.
Yeah, and I love this, like, Vorpal Swords taking space to the south, but Aman, he's going to get a great spray. He'll find Marsalek, gets out of the position again. 67 HP left on the board, but a nade is being prepped on the other side, so I think that for Tun, they'll get their way out of there, fall back, but the problem is you're running directly into the waiting arms of Foot, who are currently battling the rest of your team. Excelas will fall as the Skur will pick up that kill. Foot will now reposition to really put the pressure on the TTTS, but there's a good knock. A-Man will find it, and all of a sudden, Foot really fighting on multiple sides.
Oh, but Aman doesn't really know where to go. Doesn't really want to go north. Doesn't really want to go south. Gets shots from both sides. Has to duck down. Stays alive for now. Believe that's Pixelic shooting. Just numbers in the name. Not actually sure at this point, but it's good damage dealt. And Tung Sahur has to figure out what they want to do with this, because there's a res coming in at the top, and there's a trade coming in at the top as well. Formulation Gaming is not sleeping through this. They realize the weakness. They see the damage coming in, and they want to benefit.
Yeah, well, they got knocked. They knew that this fight was happening behind them. They knew they could third party the action, and Marsalek will get revenge. It wasn't a man, but he will get that kill onto Akeem, and the rest of Tun Surur will get moving north, but they are getting closer and closer to FaZe Clan, so you feel like their options are incredibly limited. This Murado, it's a few seconds from blowing, and I think this God Compound, this is going to be where they're going to be forced to play now, and the thing is, I don't know how they get out of here if when the zone eventually does kick them out.
Yeah, it's a rough one. It's a rough one, but they do survive for now. They at least get to reset. There's another fight going on around them. FaZe Clan taking frags. Taking some knocks towards the rest of the lobby, getting aggressive. This is FaZe as we know them. Their approach to this game mode so far has been play very simple PUBG, play very aggressive PUBG, and just try to benefit of the massive amount of firing power they have on the squad. They are going to try to do that again here. Gustav doesn't seem to see the player on his left. Maybe now just spotted him out of the corner of his eye. Nate will come in, and the rest of the squad will collapse as well. Corexi on the slightly higher ground, but the nade does the damage. And if Space Marine doesn't get taken out here, he could be final nail in the coffin. I say that, gets third party. This is not going to be easy for FaZe now.
Yeah, this is getting really tough. Space Marine is down, so Gustav will toss the smoke, but it's a little too late. Eternal picking up over the ridgeline, but Gustav will find that one. Goes for the instant flush to secure the point, realizing this might be all he's going to get, but Corexi's Johnny on the spot. He peeks from the side, he gets the kill confirmed, and he'll be able to get the res off on the Gustav. The blue zone is going to start closing soon, but FaZe Clan pick up a couple of extra points, and for Okak, they'll be disappointed, but Gustav stayed alive long enough for Corexi to get the angle to help out.
Big delay from him. Gets himself his and then stays alive long enough. They do lose Vex though. But again, that's classic FaZe Clan. Taking the fights when they can, being aggressive with them, and getting away with it. Because they are just really, really good in those fights. And there's Tung Sahur now benefiting off all of that chaos on the northeastern side. They're going to try and sneak their way in. They also will get Church. I'm not sure how aware they are that Fairy Tail has left this a circle ago. They have just left this to cross over to the other side of the road. So the Italian brain rot team will be able to backfill the Church. As I think it was Ascend in the kill feed, picking up one on Foot Esports there. So Ascend getting themselves a few points already from their high ground positions. Just letting the DMRs rain.
And then caught on the rotate as well. No names will get wiped out as suddenly we've got 12 teams left alive now. Foot turning their attention, and look at this, right up close and personal is Cappy as he's getting pushed by Buster. Tickle is moving in as well. You'll need to keep me up to date with who all these alt account names are, because I'm not quite as sure on all these EU names as I used to be, but that'll be the first from Buster. Blue Zone will hold the push. He'll step inside it though to throw an aid, knowing that he's in this 1v1. 34 HP, peeks around the corner, but Cappy will hold his own. He's going to get one, and here comes Tickleberry looking for some revenge, but Koho spending a lot of time inside the BZ nades is these Foot players, and now we've got ourselves a 1v1 in the compound.
Oh, and Cappy is one to win it as well, but the damage is good from Tickleberry. Comes around the corner, takes him down just like that. 1-2, thank you. And it's a nice little double. First one's a finish. Second one's a 1v1, and he does stay alive for now. As the rest of Formulation Gaming, I think on the high ground, taken out by Vorpal Sword. So a split approach for Formulation Gaming doesn't work out in the end. Arman caught by Believe now, as they have said hello to that church area. They have said, you don't get this compound uncontested. And they are going to try and hold them out here. Tartarin on the high ground. He's going to have to help his teammate quite a bit, because Ansley is way out of the circle here, and his cross is not going to be easy.
Yeah, crossing's not going to be easy. You're inside the blue. It's phase 4, so it's quite a bleed from this point on as the circle shifts. And Bushido, they have a decision to make. They're holding a 2-2, but with how little teams are to the south, the question is, do they stick or do they twist? Fairy Tail in a great spot. Ascend are the exact same, but a circle shift like that, you have two teams now in the north that need to make their way inside the zone. And other than terrain, there's very little to play with here, Koho.
You just said, do they stick or do they twist?
Yeah, so do they...
Is that a saying, or...?
Yeah, so stick or twist. Do they hold what they have, or do they twist and fall back to make one of the 2-2 into a 4?
Oh, okay. I see. I thought it was like a reference or something. I've never heard that before. That's good. I'm gonna write that in my notebook. I'm gonna steal that 100%.
Yeah, stick or twist. Oh, I have some great ones for you. I'm sure I'll get them for you over the course of the night as Pains peeks over. But Pains is running out of ammo here. He's got very little on the Dragonov, but he's got plenty of 5.56 on the other side.
That's almost a classic these days, with so many players shifting to 5.5. Especially if players pick up an MK14 and then they have 60 bullets, and suddenly they're asking their teammates for bullets and get absolutely nothing because everybody's running the 5s. And yeah, Paints as well will not have an easy time getting bullets here, but he doesn't have to. Should be okay with just a few more bullets. And just like that, he only needs 2. And that's Freeside losing 1. And that's a big frag to take, because that is a team that wants to go your way. That's a team that wants to make life difficult for you. Taking out 1 so early is massive for Paints here.
Yeah, and he's able to just peek that angle as well without really taking any risks, feeding the information of where Freesiders will be pushing in from. So Ascend picking up the points where they can. Kiliakai, though, no helmet, will need to find one, because in a situation like this, when you get into the late game, even a level 1 helmet can be a big difference. But it looks like here comes the push. They're going to go for the crash, and the most important thing is keeping everybody up before you get in the building. Nade thrown out, but look at that. Freesiders didn't get aggressive as they might have thought, but peeking around the side is Inting, and Timber will get knocked. So Ascend holding strong, Koho.
Holding strong for now. Pressure is mounting now, but again, big frag to take. They've got to be careful, though. They're not quite aware that he's so close, and just like that, the nade in the blue zone.
Oh, what?
Is that everyone?
They're gone. They're done.
How?
They got third party. Vorpal Swords had the angle on the offside of this fight, and they were able to land some shots, and then the damage they dealt forced Ascend into that blue zone nade, and just like that, Freesiders have gotten a get out of jail free card, Koho. They're alive. Zubila will go to this crate and pick himself up some nice gear. Oh, a FAMAS at the end of the circle, Koho. That's like a drum with no sides. You couldn't beat it.
You could not beat it. That's a crazy pickup. I did not think it. I mean, I saw the blue zone and I thought there was damage coming in, and then the nade combines and suddenly we have 2 knocks. But going from 2 knocks to a full team wipe is crazy there. I don't think even Freeside expected that to go so well. I don't think they were ready for how fast Ascend was going to crumble there from, and some would say, winning position. But that is the name of the game. One small mistake And the good 22 minutes of you setting yourself up perfectly for the circle are just thrown in the bin. PUBG is a cruel game sometimes, and I think Ascend got a taste of that.
And the thing, you can't even say it's a mistake. I think they just got PUBG'd. Like, you get pushed up, you do the right thing, you throw the pre-nade, but Freesiders didn't get aggressive. They just pulled up on the ridgeline. And then you get attacked from the other side at the same time. Now Fairy Tail will look to take advantage of Slam G's rotate into the circle. Brightside needs to land one more shot. Sprays in through, but inside the smoke, Lurex will be able to get that first aid off. Arts is off in the distance, still providing covering fire for his team. But look at this sneaky little push on the other side of this one as Storm on request. Nosferatu will get a raise way off to the south, but I love the way Storm on request are trying to pick up as many points as they can here.
And they gotta. They still are in the circle, but not for long. But look at this now. Slam G's walking up. And they're trying to activate as well. Lurex, he's got 2 more nades where those came from. He's dodging util himself now, falling back from it.
That's a good nade.
Goes down to blue. Oh. And if he hits the second one, if the second one does the same damage, he might go get Brightside, but he doesn't. 2v1 still. So now pushing on his back. It's getting very, very hard. Just like that. He does find himself one. But the res is there. And a double blue zone doesn't do anything. Fairy Tail is able to consolidate, but look at that. Storm on request. They've got the angle already. They just got to figure out when they want to step up and take the fight.
Yeah, they'll spot out the player being carried inside the circle as well, who has just been down. But as it stands now, real opportunity for GT to do some damage in the circle whenever these Fairy Tail players make their next move. Pushing up to the crate is April. There's the peak. GT steps up, gets himself Bombi, and is able to get back into cover. Reactive now will throw some more as he gets that kill flushed. As Fairy Tail in a lot of trouble as all this is going on. And thankfully for Storm on request, they can't get backfilled because Vorpal Swords are fighting with Freesiders just behind them. So that frees them up to focus on this fight, but they've actually turned tail. Yeah. They want to fight above them.
The problem is that Vorpal Swords also sees them, so they have a bit of a valley for themselves, a tiny ridge line that they can reside in, but it doesn't really cover them from the west either. So it's a tricky game they're playing, and that's why they want to activate whenever they can. But now Bushido is activating from the compound. They've played a quiet game. Now the nades are coming out, the damage is coming in, and Fairy Tail has to try and stay alive here. But so far, way too much damage coming in. Celtic, though, is falling away from it, sees the play up close and decides to disengage. So Bushido playing this very carefully. That might cost them a kill point or two.
Yeah, they're maybe putting away kill points for trying to get the chicken dinner at the end, but here comes Storm on request. Nosferatu will confirm out Timber Sava. Tacantix still alive over on the edge, but GT will keep an eye on their south. So Fairy Tail still under a ton of pressure as GT will confirm out April as there's 14 players left alive. The battle for the north continues. And while all this is going on, go look at the circle. Bushido have full control of center circle, and they're focusing on the 10 points for a win, rather than maybe getting loads of kill points and then losing out on it a little bit later on.
They are and they aren't. They are trying to really stay alive. They're also trying to activate and get a little bit more than the minimum amount here. But they are opening themselves up a little bit. I look at that map that we just seen there and I think, well, what if Vorpal Swords ever decides to go full sended into the compound that Bushido is playing? Then they're going to find themselves as a 4v1. So whenever Freeside goes down here, we might just see Vorpal Swords realize, okay, the kill points have kind of run out on this hillside. Maybe it's time to hop in and make the winning play. And I can already see it on the minimap. They're already getting into cars. They're already setting up. And if they just breach on down the hill here, while this is resolving, then Bushido might be in trouble all of a sudden. If this car makes it down here, they have a problem.
Yeah, they're doing it. They jump out for a crossberg. He's going to pick across the side. The Murado will push on out, but there is the FAMAS from Zubila finding that knock. So Bushido, all of a sudden, things not looking as rosy as they did a few moments ago. CTR will wrap around the side now as well. They're trying to get the off angle, but that FAMAS is a scary thing for Metabay to deal with. And with that, you're in a rough spot. Ooh. Nice one tap there from the Dragonov as Young will fall and Bushido buy themselves a window in this 4 versus 3.
That is one way to equalize the numbers. That is crazy. Just a flick of the wrist, just shakes it out of his hand. No problem at all. But the res will come through for Vorpal Swords in a matter of seconds here, and we will go to a 4v3. Bushido, again, they were trying to maximize points a little bit, but they have been just caught the pants down at the wrong time. Now, One-Eyed King is a little isolated here, and he's not in this next zone, Gibson. So if Bushido just do nothing and sit and try to wait for him to make his move, they might be able to catch him. But in that whole meantime, the rest of Vorpal Swords, they get to do whatever they want.
I actually love this position from One-Eyed King because he can keep them honest, keep them on their toes, deals a ton of damage, dips back into cover once more, but that feeds information over to Zubila. One-Eyed King will step up once more, gets the knock, and now it's a 4 versus 2. Metabe, the front part of this defense here for Bushido. He's going to do a little bit of damage on the Zubila, but Zubila with the FAMAS knows he's got the firepower to deal with him at a moment's notice. More nades, more utility, all being dumped down the hill, and Young will say thank you so much for a little bit of free damage, but Metabe's still alive. But Kowo, it's all down to one player. He's all alone, he's inside the smoke, and I think that this will be curtains, but maybe I spoke too soon.
Oh, the angle from the top. One-Eyed King does take it in the end. Vorpal Swords, 11 frags to win the game. And they really run away with it there. Bushido were hoping to snatch that win. I think 2 frags is all they got. Maybe 3 if they got 1 there in the end. But that's a whole lot less than they were running away with. One-Eyed King as well. From the top, peeking down with 10 HP. You saw him heal after he got that knock. But he was peeking into 3 Bushido players with 10 HP to get that opening knock.
Yeah, and because of TPP, because you can peek that without even risking it and then only take the shots when you're guaranteed to do some damage, it allowed him to play it. I think overall, Vorpal Swords played that really well. They understood the assignment. I think that crash onto the position being held by Bushido, they knew, based on the gunshots and the fight, that that compound wasn't fully fortified. So with that, they could make the send. And it was really hard for them to lose the game from that point on.
Just perfect, right? They're farming on top, they're taking control on top, but they also keep an eye on the compound the whole time. They don't forget about the big picture. They don't forget about how do we actually win this game. And if we're being honest, wasn't their game to win. I think that was Bushido's game to lose, and they also tried to maximize points, but they might just lose a bit of grasp of the bigger picture there, and they're not ready for the pull-up, and they get punished there in the end.
Yeah, well, 21 points in a best of 8 ain't a bad way to start off your weekend, but with that, we're going to jump into a very quick break. When we come back, it'll be game number 2. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players' Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
Welcome back, everybody. We're back for game number 2, but before we do, we obviously have the highlights from game 1 for you there. We couldn't wait to get to the break, you know. Casters need breaks as well. But we have highlights for you from that game, and then we'll have a look at the leaderboard to see how things are shaping up after game 1.
Yeah, and the highlights start off nice. Toon got things up and running nice and easy, but I loved this gunfight here from Gustav. He just kept enough pressure on. Look, gets the knock, doesn't really know if he's going to survive long enough, so confirms out his point, and then just about staying up alive long enough for Corexy to get the off angle. That hold from Cappy as well. I know he went down in the end, but he picked up a couple of extra points for Formulation Gaming there too.
Yeah, and those points are kind of what matters, right? It's do you play a terrible game or do you play a decent game? And sometimes just consolidating the bad games into decent games is what really makes the difference. And just like that, we arrive at the late game, where I think it's a flawless execution, really, from Vorpal Swords. Like, playing top for as long as they can, getting themselves the max amount of frags on the top there, as long as they can. And then the second they realize there's not much more to get up here, let's start playing for the win now. Instantly send it, instantly isolate the solo. Perfectly done. Spot a tiny weakness, and they exploit it massively.
That all came from that decision in the late game for that rotate too. Remember when the circle popped? They were over on the east side. They went all the way south by Valle del Mar, came up the hill then and played that position. So they kind of read the flight path. They read the map. They understood rotations team B, and they said, this is our best chance. This is our win condition, getting up on this hill. That's exactly what they did. And as we spoke about earlier, this is a best of 8. So there's only 4 games today, 4 games tomorrow, and the top teams will qualify through to the next Super Cup. 21 points in game number 1 is a pretty damn good way to start, that's for sure.
That's something that we haven't talked about at all, I think, is, or at least not enough, is this is something that everybody wants the top 8, right? Yes, there's prize money, but the big prize money is always in the Super Cups and in the Master Cups that you are qualifying for here. So top 8 is the big thing, and like you said, 21 points goes a really long way. I'm sure you've seen a lot of teams pull it through in player cups in the Americas as well, where you play 2 good games out of the 8. If those are bangers, that can be enough. And well, 21 is an absolute banger to start the day here for Vorpal Swords.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot of times inside of the Americas, where a team will have 1 or 2 really good maps, and it's just about enough. Not to mention the fact that some of the teams that qualify in week 1 in the Americas have shown up in week 2 as well. And it does make the qualification a little bit easier, because it's not really the top 8 then. It's kind of anybody inside the top 12 was qualifying last time around. But look, you spoke about it, that little bit of prize pool as well. Some teams want that, and some teams just want the extra practice, because what else are they going to do on a Saturday and Sunday night?
What else are you going to do on a Saturday night? If you're a PUBG nerd, you're going to be playing PUBG. And 100%. I mean, you can talk about this whichever way you want. There is no better lobby that you can play in Europe right now. And there is no better way to practice for you if you're a team from the EMEA region than playing this at the moment. So even if you don't think you can make it, or even if you're so rich that you don't care about the $1,000 prize pool, this is the best practice you're going to get. And these guys are trying to be professional players, and they will take every single bit of practice you can ever throw at them. So different approaches maybe, and different stages, I think, of learning TPP as well. If we're just looking at our lobby, right, there's a few teams who've made it here for maybe the first, the second time. There's a few teams who've been here every single event, every single iteration. And we'll see that a little bit as well, I think, come through the games. But there's a lot of things you can gain in this lobby, and like you said, there's different approaches to it. There's different ways to handle it.
There is. Imagine a world where we had like this in FPP and TPP, where like on a Wednesday, Thursday you had FPP, and then Saturday, Sunday you had TPP. I think the players would be eating good then, as would the viewers at home. But look, it's a good way, as we said, it's a way to get more people into competitive PUBG, because we know that there's a lot of people out there that love to play this mode. As we said, as we jump into the second game, get !register in chat if you and your squad want to sign up, not only to get a chance to get into these cups and get a bit of prize pool, but to get casted by the likes of Kowo, by the likes of Mark Power and Falix. Like, I don't see any loss. I don't see anything you could lose by signing up.
Absolutely. And also to just prove these silly casters wrong, right? Those casters who are telling you that these guys in the lobby are actually good at the game and they're better than you in Twitch chat. I mean, just sign up and show us that we're wrong, right? And it's all that easy. But for those of you wondering why we didn't show a leaderboard, it's not quite ready yet. We're going to show you when we have a leaderboard, but don't fret too much. That was game 1 out of 8. Leaderboard gets more and more interesting the deeper we get into this tournament. It's not the most interesting now. I'll tell you what's interesting. Ascend 4-man hot dropping with no names on one singular compound.
Yeah, I love it. I love hot drops. We're getting them all year round, and why not? So, they pulled off. Boring.
I was ready.
So was I. But look, they're going to secure the vehicles. They're going to get some of their own and get on the way. So I think maybe if they had a better game 1, you might have seen them commit to that a little bit better. But you were talking, Kowo, about oh my, Nabat will find the knock on to kill Kai, and that'll be the first kill of the night. But you were talking about, showing these casters that, they don't know what they're talking about. If I'm not wrong, you and Falix are like 2 of the best caster players that we have out there. Like, you two and Godspeed, you've all played at essentially the highest level. Like, you've played at PNC, so you know a lot more than most of us.
Yeah, every time I see someone miss a Panzerfaust, I just go like, couldn't be me. I would have hit that.
Yeah, no, every time.
Yeah. There's I mean, you can try and inflate our egos and make us look bigger than we are, but there is a reason that these guys are playing right now, and we're just yapping about it, right? We have to be honest sometimes. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice. It would be nice to still be at that level. It would be nice to be competing here as well. But I'm happy to just sit back these days and just do all the yapping, do all the talking, maybe draw on the map a little bit, pretend to know what I'm talking about. That's good enough for me.
Honestly, I'm all about that as we get the leaderboard up on the screen. Fairy Tail, second place with 13. Storm on Request with a great job. They got third in game number 1 with those 12 points as well. But the big thing is, and it's that average that we see, 3 teams with a donut, and Eternal Fire obviously will not be in, but no names is the surprise for me. When you think about what some of these players achieved in the last Super Cup, to see them kick the first game off with a big donut, not what you'd expect.
Not what you'd expect, but still within the realm, right? It's one game. Everything can happen. We just saw like them barely avoiding a 4-man hot drop. That could have been a bad way to start the game. And to be fair, I think these things do even out most of the time. They do when you play more games. I think the skill comes through more and more, and the randomness gets sorted out a little bit. But it's definitely not the start of the tournament that you want. And it's especially when you consider that not only are they going out with 0 points, they're also sitting there for half an hour, having to wait for everybody else to finish, having to watch Warple Swords put 21 points on the board, and then they get to play again, right? It's just mentally, it's a bit of a downer. It's a big annoyance to be just sitting there watching everybody else play the game and get to achieve what they set out to do, and you're just sitting there in silence just waiting for the game to finish so you can finally go again.
You know what, this is something we have a bit of time that I wanted to ask you about, because obviously I've spoken to players about what they do when they go out early whenever they're in like an offline or an online event, when they're at their own homes. Some of them will get some food, some of them will go for a break, get hydrated. You've obviously been to international events. What's it like for a player or team at a LAN event when you're knocked out early and you have to stay at that desk and you have to kind of sit in that one position, seeing everybody else playing in the lobby still? Like, what does that do to the mental?
It's so tricky. It is so tricky. It's one of the hardest subjects at all. I got the worst idea of it and the worst POV of it when I was actually playing Nations Cup, because not only did I have to play, but we also didn't have a coach, right? Because the guy I subbed out for had COVID and was locked into a hotel room. So we had nobody to talk to, and we weren't allowed to leave the stage because the game was still going on. We weren't allowed to watch the game, and we weren't even allowed to open paint or whatever. So it's just 30 minutes of you sitting there contemplating your life choices and why you really had to go for that drive-by against Vietnam and die for it. You know, it's absolutely horrible, and it requires some crazy mental strength. And it's actually one of the biggest differences, I think, between LAN and online. Because online, like you said, you can step away from the PC, you can go outside a bit, you can watch the stream, you can watch a YouTube video, whatever you want to try and sort of keep yourself entertained, keep yourself in the loop, keep yourself focused. All of that stuff falls away completely on LAN, so that's extra tricky. It's a big thing that I think separates great teams from good teams as well. Because once games start going badly, once you start watching everybody else perform and you're doing nothing, it's really hard to stay just in a confident mindset.
That's why momentum is such a big thing as well. Like teams that start strong and have a really good map 1 usually have a good map 2 because they've had no downtime. It's you get up, you get your quick break, you get back to it. So it's worth keeping an eye on. Obviously, it'll not have as big of an impact here, but it's worth keeping an eye on tomorrow morning whenever things continue over at PGS. But let's have a look at this at the minute. That circle shift has kept all of the southern island in the circle. And you have multiple teams now rotating as far north as they can to cross those 2 bridges by Yongchon and Shipyard to then come down that eastern coast.
It's going to be a little congested there, especially now. I think Nabat could have heard them. Nabat could have heard Believe. He might be trying to cut off the last guy as well. Oh, yeah, he definitely is. He's going to at least call that out to the rest of the squad. If I'm not mistaken, they have done it a little bit further ahead here. So Belief will be cruising right on into his open arms. He has to be careful to not get caught. But if he just stops somewhere here and lets the first 2 guys pass and maybe shoots at the 3rd or the 4th vehicle, I think the 4th one is the one that's going to be coming up behind him that we just saw. He can get himself a freebie, but look at that. Now Dante is the one that gets spotted. And he is the one that has to be a little careful.
Yeah, I think that Dante must have known something was up because maybe the call out was made. There was only 1 or 2 cars that went past. Thought that there was a chance that he could be being held by an ever lost hope. And with that, Dante will go off-roading and live to fight another day. Belief they'll cross that Shipyard bridge. They have tons of real estate to make their way into the circle for now. And I think Dante and the rest of the team will take that bridge by Yongchon now instead. Meanwhile, everyone else, apart from Ascend, inside the circle.
Wondering if Ascend has an EP there, but it does look like it. They were grouping up as if they had one. I think they were trying to camp that a little bit. Maybe camp that team that they lost Keely to. And try and camp no names coming out of Godok. They don't catch either of those teams. We just saw both of those teams swinging completely north. So Ascend do get away with nothing. And they now make their way into the circle. A little bit delayed. 3 guys, 1 car. You hate to see it. Not really the goal, not really the approach to match number 2 that they were looking for. And with a bit of bad luck, they might cruise straight into the open arms of no names here.
And as you said, as 3 players in 1 car, that could lead to a massive problem. The only thing is, no names will probably be thinking to themselves with the circle shift, with how far away they are from the zone, that it's very unlikely that anyone will come this way. And look, Ascend, I think they spotted them. They're just going to keep on going. They'll take that Shipyard bridge and make their way in. So it's those little mini games and those decisions that really lead to what happens to later on inside the game. And the main thing is, as they move in from that section of the zone, Terminal, everything north of kind of, you know, maybe 300 meters north of where FaZe Clan is completely free. Like you see that now. There's so much space to move into, and somehow Belief have managed to rotate into the only part of the circle they could have moved into where they might run into a fight.
It's a little rough. It's a little rough for them. It's a classic spot to pull up into. That forest is a classic scouting position. And Foot knows well and truly that that could be a thing. Now, Numbers guy does hear Ansley. Gets the shots out. Doesn't find the knock just yet. Pixel, that's the M249 roar. Have to be careful though. Never lost hope speaking over the top. Trying to avenge his teammate. They're trying to break off a fight here. But it will be Believe falling away from things. There will be a full reset for both these teams. 28 seconds on the clock as well for this circle. So they want to stay just on their feet here for Esports. They know they have a bit of info in the circle. They want to be ready to react whenever it pops.
And I've got some information from an inside source. Officer Tickleberry is, of course, Pixel.
Yes.
So yeah. So that means that we're only down to numbers. And as you said, it might be Miraku, or it could be T-Bone, depending if he's back.
That is Bidet Buster. There's a story there from Nations Cup that I won't tell on broadcasts, but Bidet Buster is 100% Miracle. Circle comes in though, goes straight onto Buksansa. Bushido on the pre-drive. Yeah, I like to see it. They were more ready for the circle than a lot of the teams around them. They now have to be careful to not cruise through too many members of Storm on Request, but they are nice and early, and they are powers in numbers, so Storm on Request is a little wary about shooting too early. And Bushido should get themselves a nice central spot around that Buksansa area. FaZe holding all edges, getting greedy with it. Gonna be greeted by many teams coming towards them, but many potential frags as well if they do connect their shots.
Yeah, Bushido just looking to find anywhere to call home for a little while as we jump on board with Exelas from Tun Sarur as he will spot at Okak, not too far away. Gotta be careful as one of the members is standing looking this way, but Akeem and Aman on the opposite side. The compound that they're holding, these, this one in particular, if the circle shifts there, is so powerful because of the terrain around it. But that's something we'll worry about a little bit later on as No Name, they're going to lose rocks, so another player from No Name is going to go down relatively early in game number 2.
On the same sense, as we just saw Bushido, just a little bit later, further away from the zone, have to make up more ground, and are now going to arrive at what they consider their home for a bit. Not a great spot, it is survivable for a bit, but you can see that FaZe Clan getting good damage in already. Gustav gets damage in, gets the marker down for Fex to unleash the nades, and with more third-party shots coming in from afar, you see the green damage numbers there from Fairy Tail. Fex can now start nading, and FaZe can start closing out No Names here. They have nowhere to go, and if FaZe Clan want to get aggressive, they can. Not a great spot for No Names.
Yeah, that'll be another player down and out as that kill will be picked up by Bombi from Solo. So Bushido, they're pushing on to this one for Vorpal Swords. Winners of game number 1. This fight actually was the crucial one in game number 1 of the night, happening a little bit earlier here on Tego, but they will pick up that point. Another one on the board, but Bushido suffer a knock from long range as Katurkin will fall at the hands of Okak. And Okak, they're going to get aggressive on this. I like the decision for them, even as a 3, to up the aggression and maybe try to get some points on the board.
Recap spots him.
Oh no.
It's almost able to confirm his flush there, but if you're looking how far the rest of the Bushido members still are from this, they might have given up on it already. They are shifting to different locations, but I think it's more about finding a spot where they can live than about getting Katurkin back on his feet. And this is just so tricky. It's treacherous being in these forests. Constantly have teams looking over your shoulders. You might constantly have teams walking up on you, and they do right now. There's Yetanik from the Nomads that gets himself pretty close, and you can see Crossberg still has no idea about this.
He's completely unaware of the fact that No Names are nearby, and No Names with just 2 players left alive. Got to be very careful about what decisions they make from this point on. Now Yetnek will go from tree to tree, have a little scout at what's going on ahead of him as 2 E pickups were in the sky. Looks like Belief just sent Tatarin up and straight back down to get a bit of scout work done. But the question is, do Freesiders... I think that you don't take it, right? You've got a compound, it's inside the circle. Just drive down. Don't risk going up into the sky, because with Boksan Sa taking up the vast majority of the circle, you don't want to commit to being into it too soon.
I like it as well. I think you stay, especially at that gas station. We've seen it play up into the hills successfully, and we've seen games end there. So where Kantix is one of the good spots in the zone for sure, outside of Buksansa. Ascend as well on another pre-drive, so the regional partners taking their FPP experience to straight to TPP, pre-driving before the circle pops, so they're already in their cars and they're already a little bit closer to the center, and then they get to pick where they want to end up. And Bushido ends up southwest of Buksa, Ascend ends up northeast, beating a few other teams to the punch, and well, that might now just come back to benefit them, as Formulation Gaming are going to have a look on in, but they are instead avoiding the garage, avoiding the likely place you might find some players, and drive scout in the south of Buksansa instead.
Yeah, they're driving into the more populated area of the circle, though. The closer you get to the middle, the more chance there is for problems to occur. So with that, Formulation Gaming are going to go drive right towards Pains, who is solo on the south side of Boksansa. So Pains needs to pick his shots, gets the knock on the Cappy, peeks around the other side, does a ton of damage, goes for the secondary repeat, gets the kill, and down go Formulation Gaming. And well, it's TP Pains by the looks of it tonight.
Stealing from Twitch chat. I see you, Gibson. I
did.
see you.
I did steal from another one of one of the German community members as well, but it's okay.
It's
I
okay.
like it.
It's fair enough. Big man Pains gets himself 2 there, no problem at all. Doesn't need any help. Using a little bit of both, right? Using the FPP on the first kill, and then just making sure he gets the information with the camera on the second. Intends no chance there to get the trade. On Cappy, Formulation Gaming go out, and Ascend reward themselves for the nice rotation, for the early rotation, with a good 2 kills.
And Aogiri Tree, they went game number 1 without picking up a single point. I know that you've asked for me to say their name more often than you do tonight when things become a little bit possible, but they've got a nice spot. North of the circle, you've got some scouting being done by Topek here, a little bit further away from the rest of the team, but they can sit. They're not too far away from Boksansa if the circle does go there. But we'll switch our attention out to the no-names who are in the open, getting held by Bushido. So Crossberg eventually spotted out Yetnek after a while.
They've finally seen each other. Now that's a bit of a ticking time bomb, but they can also just hold this down. You can see Crossberg, he's not using his camera. He's happy to be peeking this, but Yetnek is not. He just wants to get out of dodge. Wants to get away from trouble. Fights opening up on the northeast side of the map, though. We just watched Ogiri Tree pick one up on 2 Foot Esports, and on the other side of things, it's Tung 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 Sahur. Making things tricky for Okak. This forest, it is treacherous at best, and it's so hard to get any control over Gibson. There's so many different angles, so many different spots you can get pushed from or ratted from. And that's why we see so many teams bleeding members here, just like you alluded to in game 1.
Yeah, and this is what happens. The rotation game becomes tough. FaZe Clan, they're extending out. They know that this gunfight to the northwest will eventually feed their way, so they want to be in a position to hold their ground. Elsewhere, Freesiders will pop a tire on the Dacia. Moving into the circle, they find a spot they can play as well, but with 1 player down, we're going to jump on over the other side of the circle. Storm on request, they're going to find 1 kill confirmed. 2 players up, 1 point on the board. Fairy Tail's conf out in the open, and Reactive will react beautifully to that line of sight, picks up that knock, and now for Storm on request, they've really got Fairy Tail on the back foot. It's a 2 versus 2. You want to confirm your point, but don't be surprised if you got a knock from Call Me Bombi, and he peeks up on that side. But great shots coming in from Reactive again, putting the damage on and keeping the pressure on Fairy Tail.
Bale's killed out there as well massively. That nade actually connects. That's Bombi down. And just like that, taps away. April, good night. Beautiful stuff from Kadel. Good help from Reactive to spot that as well, make that possible in the first place. But nice shots coming out to clean that up. Freeside have made the breach, come out of the gas station, gotten up into the open arms of No Names. And they're picking this up by now. Yeah, that one's already on 2. Looking to make that 3, maybe make it 4. Timber has no idea what he's walking into. Shots are coming out. This is a tricky fight to be taken. What? That connects.
It was Nabat. Nabat found that knock on the side, and he's going to find it. And now for Freesiders, here's the push. The stun's there. He's running around the tree. Nabat uses the audio of the footsteps, peeks across, and Nabat will get his 4th kill. Runs for the res, but will he have time elsewhere? Toon Sarur's family was 2 of the players went down earlier, but they'll manage to find another few kills of their own as well. Jumping on over though, Foot against FaZe Clan, Boksan Sa, and there is the peek on the side from Numbers. He'll find himself a knock on the nail up, and now can Fex with the level 3 gear by Bidet Buster. Yes, he can.
Finds his. But they have lost nail up in the process there, so down to just 2. Good stuff with 3 gear. Good angle as well. Numbers guy is T-Bone, so we have gotten that down and confirmed. But he is in a tricky situation here. 2v1, well known as well. Nowhere to go. Ascend on the south as well. They're not going to let him out either. They've been able to keep track of the kill feed here reasonably well. They were taking a few of the frags towards Belief, but they should have a good idea. That first aid is too late, Vex. FaZe going down to 1. That's good news for T-Bone, but terrible news for FaZe Clans.
That's an arm gone as well. You lose more level 3 gear. You lose an arm. That's a bit of a mistake from FaZe. So Gustav now will have to play this as a solo for the rest of the game. Yetnek is extending out. He heard this gunfight from a little earlier. Maybe there's a chance to pick up some points as he keeps looting. And Nabat, the other member of No Names, will keep his eye to the south. Storm on request reactive. Quick knock, but Crossberg from Bushido is able to find that flush and steal that kill away. But No Names, 2 players alive, 5 kills, and you're on the brink of the top 8. This is a really good salvage game from them.
It's a really good salvage, but you also have to look at this and see, wait, so we have 19 players alive and we got 9 teams?
Mm-hmm.
I thought a team had 4 players, right? This is a whole lot of solos walking around, a whole lot of duos, 3-mans, not any big teams left. I don't think there's even a single 4-man left on the server, so nobody's been able to stay alive throughout the forest. Bootstick finds himself a double. The young talent, cracked Russian kid, picks that up, Ukrainian kid. And will at least claim the southern side of the forest for SlamG. Bushido, still quiet on the west here, baiting a little bit with those shots, is Metabay. And he's trying to make Vorpal Swords overcommit.
I like it. You know that Vorpal Swords are the one that has to step on in, and there you go. There's the peek up. There's one. Turn your attention over to the other side and nade in the hands of Razor, but it's going to have to be really good from there to hit the spot. And it does 91 damage. Just 9 away from finding a knock. But that opens up the space. He's going to fall back. Medaby's going to take up that same position because he's got a med. But that is really good tag team play from Bushido. One player takes the damage. Someone else fills the spot while the other one will go. But look at this. SlamG getting the angle from the other side, making things really difficult as Magor will find that knock. Metabay will put the flush down. But all of a sudden, Bushido in a ton of trouble.
And you can see he doesn't even want to connect. He doesn't even want to group up for that res. He just wants to get the hell out of there. Realizes it's too late. Celtic goes down. He barely lives the nade, but he's not healthy enough to live the third party. And SlamG looking into this as well. They're not sure if they want to go for this just yet. They don't want to overcommit. They have space for themselves on their side of the circle with just 14 alive. There is plenty of space in this Phase 5 circle, but if they can find any more free kills, they will absolutely take them. And that's gonna mean they're just looking over their shoulders a bit, just seeing what's going on, and ready to fall back and reposition whenever the circle pops. But it goes right onto SlamG, right to the south. They're completely fed here, and they can just sit and wait this out.
Yeah, they can sit and wait. Ascend are looking towards the north, knowing that FaZe Clan and Foot are still going to come this way. This battle for the west will continue as Nabat will get pretty damn close to the action now as Vorpal Swords will begin the aerial assault. Nades being thrown this way. Nabat right behind the tree. Steps on up. Nabat will eat damage, but Metabay will fall. And now Vorpal Swords have got to get aggressive. One-Eyed King is pushing around the side. Can't quite get the angle just yet as Foot will get eliminated on the edge of Buksan Sa. But the timing, Vorpal Swords just weren't close enough to take advantage at the first time of asking. But can Bushido regroup from sustaining that knock? And Vorpal Swords now with the angle. Oh, One-Eyed King's a great angle here, Kowo.
Oh, he's got all the information he could ever want. He gets the flashbangs out now. The attention's going to be towards the rock at the top. As I say that, he peeks on up and he does do a bit of damage. Crossberg does him the favor of taking out his own teammate. She pops Metabay in the back of the head. And even gets the flush here. That's really unfortunate for Bushido, but their days were numbered here anyways. This is a crazy push though. This is crazy aggressive from One-Eyed King. He steps into the open and you just can't do that against someone like Crossberg. Instantly punishes him, stays alive. And this is a straight-on 1v1 here. Vorpal Swords not even in a good position to win this.
Yeah, and look at this. You've got all the way from the south. SlamG are moving in this way. They don't want to get involved just yet, but they certainly want to be there to pick up whatever pieces is left off the back of this fight as they go full shift W. One-Eyed King trying to feed the information. He will peer through the smoke to let Razor know where this last player is once the smoke dissipates. But look at that. Gustav, he spots him out from the other side. Boostic now steps across and SlamG will pick up the kill. Crossberg now full retreat, 7 HP, backed into a corner, 1v1 with Gustav. Gustav wins those and it's a 3v1 for the win. And SlamG continue to move this way.
They've moved all the way over. They've moved all the way over to get these third parties, get these frags. And they've given up a ton of space to Ascend in the process, who've just shifted down to the east. They now control what is a majority of the circle. That doesn't mean that they're in the better position. That doesn't even mean that their spots are good, but they have definitely reacted on the SlamG push here. They have reacted on the SlamG third party and are now in a position to reward themselves with a chicken dinner. Gustav doesn't want to make this easy either. He's still aggressive. He's still looking. And again, classic FaZe Clan. They take these fights. They don't shy away. They want to push people and they want to kill people. Mogor now spotted on the tree. Gustav surely going to go right, try and get the flank on in. But he has more util to throw as well. Flashbang comes out, takes the audio away from Agora. If that nade is well cooked, it could just take him out. It could just decide this game here. Gustav is being such a pain for SlamG.
Yeah, but look at that. The level 3 gears giving him the opportunity to be as aggressive as well. But with that smoke wall being thrown, he'll use it to his advantage and begin to move. Zone shifts in favor of Ascend now as they've got real advantage in this one. And really it does come to who will get that next knock that's really going to put the cat amongst the pigeons. Magor falls back. And I love the SlamG realizing with a circle shift that Gustav is not worth that singular point. They're going to move down south. But the question is it too little, too late now that Ascend have got full control?
They do have control, but that can often be very, very fake. If SlamG just manages... I don't know if they still have a vehicle here at all, but if they could fly into Itzkris, for example, right? Take a 3v1 there. Yeah, you're going to get shot on the approach a little bit. It might not be the easiest thing to do. They do have a car here, but it says 3-tire Dacia. It's not optimal. But again, if they manage to take a fight versus Brex here, for example, on the south... So single out a single member of Ascend because they are spread so thinly, then this is fully winnable for SlamG. And right now they are making these moves and it's a big forest. So they are not getting seen just yet. Ascend thinks better of it though, and they do fall away from things and they do reset into positions that they feel like they have more control over. So I really like to see that from Ascend, not stepping into the obvious trap of saying, we got the space, let's keep the space.
Oh, Gustav's got himself some space inside the circle as well, as he's going to become a bushman for what's left of this game, as long as he possibly can. Don't get me wrong, though. If he gets the chance to get a knock and a flush, he will take it, realizing it's all about points maximization. Bustic will move, though. SlamG making their play. 2 players pushing forward. Magore will hold the line, and with that, they now get themselves in position as well. And Stuns clearing their positions, but that smoke trail, that should reveal exactly where Ascend are. Magor, little bit of damage done onto Imenting. Imenting gets inside the Dacia. That might be the wrong decision to make right now. One more shot will do it, and Magor with the final round will hit it, and now Ascend are really in a spot of trouble. They've got 2 players up in this 3v2v1, and can Bustig add to their woes now as he looks back towards the smoke once more?
Done so well to avoid the initial trouble, right? The drive-by already came out for SlamG. They were looking for a weakness. They were looking for a solo member. And Ascend was avoiding it beautifully. Now Lurix, though, steps up and takes down Chris. Wins the 1v1. And just like that, it's just one left. It's just Pains left. TP Pains on top for Ascend. Knows that Gustav is a thing as well. Looks for him. Finds him with the nade, actually. Might have spotted him in that bush. And secures Ascend a second place here, plus another kill on the board. But he is in a 1v3 versus SlamG. I say 1v3, this is now 1v2. He's nailed the first one. He's making this possible.
Yeah, and he's got himself, his helmet is still intact, although all or barely so. 3 kills on the board, but doesn't really have a lot of boosts left. Spots out another 1v1, and that's going to be the head of Boostic, but won't land. But he's going to move on up now. I don't know. He can't really go for that res. Boostic, the knock would be the better decision. Magor will confirm out that kill. Gas can in his hand takes a lot of damage. I think that might have been a misclick. And that will be the kill coming in from Boostic as SlamG take a 21-point win. And Kowo, like that SlamG roster, if you've been following like the EMEA scene for a while, that is cracked. Like there is some crazy talent on that team.
There's some crazy talent there. They are the young talent. They are sort of the definition of a young team with tons of talent on it. And it's been working out really nicely in some of the events. They've also had quieter events. They did really well at the first iteration of the Masters. I think they got themselves a top 5 or something like that there. And then we even had an event where they didn't even get top 8. So Not the most consistent team just yet, but the potential is there. The talent is definitely there. And they take Ascend for a spin in that late game, right? Like, Pain's not even close to making that work in the end in the 1v2, 1v3, I should say, sorry. Not possible at all with the way that SlamG have set up that game before, and both Brex and Chris getting caught by, it was Ogora and Lurex, making them look like a real contender for events like this, SlamG, but they have to pull through consistently to really prove to us that they belong to be amongst the top.
And consistency will come. Like, they're a young team. They've got the talent. It's just reps, reps, reps. That's where you build the consistency. You get into a bad position, you lose that game, and you go to yourself, okay, how do I adjust? Let's not make that same mistake again. So you expect that from a team like SlamG. They will make mistakes, but they will also show what they can do in games like that. They played that brilliantly. I think Ascend maybe spread themselves a little bit too thin in that final circle, giving away 3 1v1s, but you can't take anything away from SlamG. Like, they fought a lot. They were fighting for so long in that game, and they got rewarded for it.
Yeah, I thought Ascend had it all figured out, right? I thought they had it figured out. They knew that there was a chance that SlamG just gets in a car, blasts it at them, and tries to take a 1v3 or a 3v1. And they pull themselves together a little bit, and they reset and they take positions that they want to play more safely. But then those positions get completely just outclassed by what SlamG was doing, right? Mogore had a really good angle on both Paints and Brex there, and takes out Brex, and their games falls apart almost immediately after. So they tried to set themselves up. I think they knew what was coming as well, but it just didn't work out. It just didn't play out in the way that they expected it would.
It did not, but one thing you can always expect is between maps, we will jump into a very quick break. When we come back, it will be Rondo. We'll see you in a few.
Ni hao, I'm Tiger and Lilik.
No, Lily.
More steps toward unifying your Battlegrounds experience. Destructible terrain on Tago. And a new way to hide your vehicles. All this and more as we dive into the Update 35.2 patch report. First up, we're continuing to work toward unifying your Battlegrounds experience. This update adds vending machines, previously a Miramar exclusive, to Erangel and Tago. You can also keep an eye out for medical vending machines that distribute first aid kits, bandages, and med kits. All these machines still have their chance at a jackpot, so test your luck when you run into one. In addition to this, Erangel is also getting Tago's destructible pots. Breaking these has a chance to give boosts, healing items, throwables, and even secret room keys. So embrace your inner Link and smash away. And speaking of destroying stuff, destructible terrain and the red zone have made their way to Tago. As before, explosives and the Panzerfaust will alter the terrain they hit, adding a bit more realism to that big, cool explosion. We've also added the pickaxe to the map for those who'd rather dig their trench a little more discreetly. For now, destruction on Tago will only affect terrain, so don't worry about the building you're in caving down on top of it. And on the topic of discreetness, you can now find vehicle camo netting on Erangel and Miramar. Deploying the camo netting to your vehicle will help it to blend in with the terrain around it, making it harder for enemies to see while obscuring tire positions. We've also toned down C4 a little by making it a deployable weapon that requires 4 seconds to set. This adds a little more risk to the reward instead of it being used as a nuclear grenade. There's also a new Survivor Pass, enhancements made to the inflatable boat, some improvements to the flare gun's UX, and lots more info about everything else we talked about. So be sure to check out the patch notes for full details. Update 35.2 is here. So pack your favorite explosives and get ready for a little light terraforming on Tago. Just make sure you hide your getaway vehicle from the other survivors. We'll see you on the battlegrounds.
Welcome back into the PUBG Players Cup. I jumped the gun a little bit there, everyone, but it's okay. And it is not Mark, it is not Falex, it is Gibson joined by Koho for a change, so your eyes do not deceive you. This is EMEA. But Koho, we're halfway through the night already, and we've seen a couple of big point wins already.
21 for each of the winners, right? I think that was Slam G, and then it was the same for the Vorpal Swords in game number 1. So big games to start the day. It is a classic. I think we'd rarely see a really, really low kill wins in this because you don't have to fight for winning positions most of the times. Everybody's good enough to understand what a winning position is. So it's very rare that we see teams just get away with those 2-3 kill wins. I think the average is maybe 7 or so, but double-digit kills is massive. And or double-digit points is absolutely massive. We alluded to that earlier. It goes such a long way when you're only playing the best of 8.
That's it. Like, both of those teams now are well on their way to getting through to the next Super Cup, which is, of course, only a few weeks away. And with that, we are only in the first cup as well. So if the teams that don't make it this week will have the chance to run it back next week to try get their way through. But we're looking too far ahead. We are only halfway through the first day. We still have way more action tomorrow as well. But looking at that leaderboard, Koho, like, Slam G and Vorpal Swords have got themselves a bit of a gap over the chasing pack.
For sure. Bushido also keeping in close contention, FaZe Clan as well, with two very different approaches, right? Bushido had that 2-kill second place, I think, in the first game, and they now have 10 placement points, 8 frags. On the other side of the coin, 13 frags for FaZe Clan, so they're almost top 5 in the lobby, while still being only in 4th place. It goes to show a little bit of the playstyle. I think we've seen both of them do good things in these first 2 games. Bushido, especially on the macro side, rotations have been really good, getting themselves into late game spots, and then FaZe Clan just running over people, just dominating their team fights wherever they can. And they usually don't go out cleanly. They usually they slowly bleed out as they are starting to bleed members. But if you put up your 5 kills a game, 7 kills a game, that's absolutely enough. And let me just say, this Observer is cooking.
I wouldn't try that. I have tried. I actually have tried that, and it didn't go very well. So much credit to be able to do that as we jump into Rondo for game number 3 of the night. Flight path promising, hopefully something not too far away from anywhere other than test track. Really, I think in the Americas we've been blessed because in the Americas we've had 10 long circles over the course of the last few weeks. So something a little bit different.
Yeah, it's something that I find quite interesting, right? I feel like I can remember so many different circles on Rondo, but then when you ask people, it's like, so many people will say everything's between test track and stadium, right? And it has a tendency to go there when the early circles are there, but if you remember, if you've been watching a little bit of PDS, we also had a east of Tin Long finish, we had a finish like just north of Yulin, just south of Yulin plenty of times, west of Yulin, so... we have those hard east circles that go Mohupan or Himai Town, right? So I think there's a little bit of variety, but I think the stigma of all of these circles ending between test track and stadium for a while is just still haunting people.
I think it was just that like 3-week phase when PAS and PEC was on where every single circle was there. And obviously with updates and patches, we're not seeing as much of it as we used to. But as we speak, it is a stadium test track circle for phase 1 with Yulin being involved. With that being the case though, you look at some of these drops, particularly down towards the south. Slam G, Storm on Request all need to migrate their way up, but you'd have to assume in a normal situation that Slam G are going to wrap all the way up the west and find a pocket somewhere either south or north of FaZe Clan.
There is a chance that they go all the way up, but I think there's also a chance that they sort of just come in just south of FaZe Clan. Mugori gets himself the glider that he can get just a little bit to his north, and then they get all the information they want, and they get ready for a phase 2 send. I think that's what I would expect them to do here, because they're not going to have enough prio to get themselves the best spot in the circle here, but they should have enough prio to get themselves into a good position for phase 2 whenever that happens. This is one of the circles on Rondo where once phase 2 comes around, you almost know where it's going to end already, because there's so much water and so much unplayable in it, right? If you look at the northern side, you have the river, you have tons and tons of rocks, then you have the big lake west of Bamboo. So players will figure out where these circles are going early, but I think Freeside has figured out where Katurkin has gone early, and this is going to be a big clash.
Oh, but look, he's got some cover on the other side. Self-thinking will spot out. Am I crazy? I thought I was crazy, but he will keep on going. But Saturkin, he's got to be careful. Og in his hand, level 1 helmet. Player hops on out, does a little bit of damage, but at close range, the SMG will always win those battles. And now Self-thinking is in a very tough spot. Behind the rock, teammates down. He's got a bike, but a bike is... Oh my god, that's a great shot on the Sorry I Am Crazy. Can he double down? Another bit of damage dealt, even more so this time around. Self-thinking is one-man arming Freesiders.
He's absolutely keeping them busy. They almost had this closed down already, but now more time for reinforcements coming in. Metabay still alive, gets good damage into Mava, takes him out, just completely out of position there. And that allows Celtic to close the gap now and get inside the compound. Metabay is caught though in the open, and Crossberg's in a mounted bike out of all things. But he is flying straight on in as fast as he can, and Celtic's not done just yet. Takes down Timber as well. Just like that, Kantix out in the open, and Bushido close down the early fight. Do they get the reses here is the big question. They've already seen Masterlek on the hilltop, but Masterlek will look for some of these flushes. If he figures out where Metabay is, it's game over. But to be fair, we know. I don't think he can know. I think he has to get the hell out of there. And, oh god, that's not just a third party, that's a fourth party by Tung 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 Sahur.
Yeah, I think that he's got that Marsalek now. The smoke will give away his position. He hops on the bike, but his HP is low, so a couple of good shots from the ace. Here you go. Can XLS find it? Yes, he can. Quick couple of taps, and down goes Marsalek. Will there be a revenge? Nope. Straight on the bat, you see a turn tail here as they will move back towards the north. But getting back into that gunfight, like, you could argue Freesiders didn't really do anything wrong there. The thing is, you just can't teach mechanical ability and skill like that. Like, Celtic just hit some incredible shots, and once you lose that, and once a team like Bushido, they're just mechanically so good, it becomes so difficult for Freesiders.
Yeah, especially until that point. I really did think that they were doing well in the fight. Afterwards, I think you could say a few things. I think Mavra was caught a little bit too much out in the open, just full body peeking and stuff like that. But before Celtic was popping off, everything looked pretty good. And then suddenly the fight completely turned on its head, right? Momentum completely shifts. And it does get closed out pretty quickly. Just like that, down to 54 players. That's as fast as it goes. And that's going to leave a bit more space for everybody else in the lobby to just get in good spots. This is something that we see a ton, though. And this is the swamp area being super contested. Why is that? There's so many rocks around it on basically all sides of the swamp that the circles do love to go here. And if you are in a good spot in the swamp, everybody else around you has nothing to play, and you're set up for late game. So that's why we see two teams here so early.
You're bang on. Like, even though we're in phase 1, there's so much unplayable here. You spoke about it earlier as an unplayables, and the zone can't go there late game. But there's also just so much unplayable because you can't get caught there. Like, bamboo fields are there, the rice paddy fields. There's so many positions where anybody outside that area will have lines of sight onto where you're playing. So it's a really is a rat race to get those prio compounds in the early stages of this one. Elsewhere, though, Formulation Gaming lost Marsalek a little earlier, but they're going to move up onto this position by the rocks. And there's an idea again. Look at how much sight lines that Formulation have over this whole circle. Like, some of their PCs mightn't even be rendering in the stuff that's way off in the distance they can see so far.
Yeah, they can see a ton for sure. They got to be a little bit careful, though, because they see a ton towards the west, and they see a little bit towards the north as well, but the south is a completely unknown quantity, right? And that's why Marsalek was taken out there. He drives further south, tries to get a third party in, and gets punished by a team just next to him. So got to be a little bit careful as well, but they are going to get as much information as they can, and then probably going to be getting in their cars once phase 2 gets close. And then they should be on ascent to try and figure out whatever Bushido is leaving, for example. Maybe they see Belief grouping up in the north and something frees up there. Tons of information. You just have to put it to use. And they definitely have the experience on the squad to do that.
Yeah, Boostic feeding the information here about what Storm on Request are doing. And Storm on Request, they're scouting just ahead. So Boostic might be able to catch a freebie. If he moves a little bit further up, he'll see that parked vehicle. But Cadel will move on by, as will Reactive. And that might free up Boostic to do some real damage. And he's going to wait. He's going to pop. There's 2 shots landed. There's the third. And that's just really good play. Like, Boostic, understanding the situation, knew there was a solo, made sure the rest of the squad were too far away so that he could guarantee that knock and flush.
Yeah, it's just clean. And this is, I think, goes back a little bit to what you were saying earlier, right? Teams struggle to get forward into late game. And those kind of plays are what makes it so hard. Boostic is just there before them, bides his time, doesn't show, plays it carefully, plays it patiently, and then he's good enough to hit the shots when it matters. He's not going to get a second chance, but he doesn't need a second chance, right? He converts instantly, and just like that, you've lost 25% of your squad before you've even started playing the game. 1 minute and a half for Storm on Request to get themselves in a position that they want to play this game from. Slowly, players are trickling on in. I think Ascend is in a glider there. Yeah, no surprise. Brex has taken the role of the pilot. That is nothing new. And he's going to get themselves tons and tons of information on this whole western side, the stadium area, everything around it. And he's playing a bit of a different game than everybody else, right? He's the UAV on top, but he also has to plan his moves a little bit. So he's going to get a little bit more information now, and then he's going to pull out of the zone a little bit, get into a bit of safety, and fly back in when the circle pops, because that's when his information is most needed, right? He can't be taking too much heat right now. He can't be taking too much damage right now. He's going to bide his time a little bit and come back in around that phase 2 pop to give them all the information that they need.
He's not the only person worth thundering. I think I see Never Losing as well, or Never Lost Hope, sorry, to the north was going flying around the map as well. Nope, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, he is. He's in a glider as well. So you have 2 players playing in the UAV, getting that information. I always argue that as we see a player from Tun Sahur falling, that the risk isn't high enough in taking a glider. Like, because they don't explode, you can sit up there. It's really hard to shoot you out of it. You can get your engine blown out, and you can still glide for several hundred meters to somewhere semi-safe to get out of it.
I agree. I 100% agree. The gliders are a little OP, and it surprises me to only see 2 gliders here, right? This is Rondo. This is where the gliders are hard spawn. And if you're looking at that map right now, you see that Brex was ready, right? He was ready for that phase 2 shift. He was ready to give Ascend all the information that they would have wanted. But the circle's going so far away that he now has to shift his attention back north. And he will have to scout, but he will very, very quickly be able to see what Belief is splitting and what Ascend can backfill here and maybe take up and then start playing more northern spots, maybe play around the teams who have already occupied the center. So Glider's gonna do Ascend a lot of favors, but they have to be a little bit careful. I see plenty of teams coming their way here, and it doesn't help you to know a position is taken when somebody took it before you, right? You also have to be able to take it for yourself and play from there.
It's better to know that it's taken, though, than to rock on up thinking it's completely free, I suppose. As you pointed out, FaZe Clan moving in from the north, going in the north side of that lake. Potential of a crash here between these two going side by side, as Gustav will seat swap, but he's got himself a compound that they can play. But if I'm FaZe Clan, I'm looking for maybe more. You know, you don't want to settle for the edge. You want something a bit more tenable for later on inside the game. And look at Test Track. Vorpal Swords got rocked up on by Foot, and they were dealt with in the blink of an eye. And that's where it doesn't hurt to have that, you know, those points in the bank from the first game tonight, where you can sustain a loss like that and you're still going to be inside the top 3-4 at the end of this game.
Yeah, it does help, but it doesn't feel nice either way. They get absolutely blasted there by Foot Esports. I don't think they might have taken one knock, if even. They all look very, very healthy after this. I don't think they even had to res a player back up, and it's a nice point injection for Foot as well. I said it before, they were struggling in the last Super Cup, and they are coming back in force now. FaZe, we see, has taken the Northern Wrap. Ascend again. They still have Braxton the glider, and he's taking another safe lap, right? He's putting himself into unmanned territory. He might even be like landing or fueling up. I think there's a good chance that he's actually just landing there at the edge of the map to fuel up and then come back for phase number 3. And yeah, they're gonna try and just play the same game again.
Yeah, why not? Like, as we said, there's no real risk, no real problem for it. But you see towards the south, Lurex is doing the exact same thing. He's in a glider now, scouting out everything that is going on in this section of the map, just looking to feed that information. Really, your glider player is a conduit of information for your team. You can tell them where to go, what's clear, what's not. Like, Lurex, his glider's taken a bit more of a beating than maybe Braxco's had a little bit further off to the north. But he's able to tell them, right, there might be one team, but this warehouse is free. This one's looking good. You can move here if needs be. He can really be the war general here to feed the next moves to the side.
Absolutely, and that's why we see teams trying to blast these gliders as early as they can as well. Even Foot now, taking a few shots from range here to try and take this glider down. And like you said earlier, the punishment maybe isn't big enough, but Lurex flies into an EMP here. That's going to turn his motor off right away. He might be able to glide out of it, but his teammates on the ground won't have the same luxury. Artix is absolutely stuck in the blue right now. With his, or it's Boostic, I think in the car, Boostic and Artix together, their motors are off, and they will have to wait until that EMP zone passes. So they can't react on this circle just yet. They're stuck. And they're not very dynamic here. They're quite stationary in that test track area just until the EMP passes.
Yeah, and it does pass now, but I can't imagine that Lurex had any plans of getting back up into the sky once more as we get later and later inside this game. Looking elsewhere, you can see that over on the west side of the circle, you've got Ascend, Bushido, Aogiri Tree, and No Names, all for trying to force their way in that narrow corridor. And it looks like Braxco getting that information. This is where it could become a problem for Braxco, because now he's going the right direction. For a moment there, I thought he was still going deep, but you don't want to get shot down going towards the center of the circle either.
Yeah, for sure. And he's got to get himself back into safety, but he hasn't really found a spot for his team yet, and that's the big problem. He's gotten a lot of information, but he doesn't quite get them a free spot, but he might give them a bit of information on splits, right? And he might have said, well, I got shot by Bamboo, but there wasn't a whole lot of guns in there. Maybe that's where we're ending up. Or, yeah, there's teams shooting me from the south, but I'm pretty sure they're 2-2 splitting. Maybe we can pull up something there. Maybe we're up south. They definitely have an idea. We'll see how it plays out, because it's not looking easy to get into the zone right now. We have the map split up, and we can see there's not really an easy entry for Ascend here either way. They will have to tank a little bit of blue and figure out where they want to go, but the circle ain't making it easy.
No, and the teams inside the circle ain't going to make it easy for them either, as they all make their way in. FaZe Clan, they'll all consolidate up, but Nailup might be in a spot of bother with Slam G eventually coming around this way, so he'll hop inside the Dacia, realizing that, you know, in a situation like this, it might not be the best to get caught out isolated as these teams get ready for a fight. And I think that FaZe Clan, if they bail out of their cars at the right spot, could do some real damage on the Slam G right now as things stand. And look at the angle Corexis has on everything that's going on as well.
What an angle. Both sides, no chance. Corexi on one, Space Marine on the other. Fex doesn't only take one, he takes two. And he says, thank you, no problem, we're moving on. Slam G down to half their members. FaZe Clan set up nice and easy. Fairy Tail, meanwhile, have greeted Ascend in the gymnasium out of all things. And now Bombi is trying to bide his time. He's trying to let them in, does the damage from the side, just like that. Keely down as well. And it's just Chris left on his feet versus Fairy Tail to try and do it all. Fairy Tail set up on the compound, defending in force. And they are looking to close out Chris as well.
Yeah, Comp takes a lot of damage there in this fight as well, as Chris will find a knock onto Bombi. So this fight is not quite over just yet. Yeah, it is. I didn't even get to finish my sentence. Fairy Tail, they'll manage to get that kill confirmed, and down fall Ascend in 13th place. The res will come off onto Bombi as well. But do Slam G push now in this situation? You can see that way off in the distance, Art is down, so the rest of the team have decided to rock up on this position, but Formulation getting crashed up on top of the north here by FaZe Clan as well. This is outside the circle, but every single point matters And FaZe Clan, their big issue tonight hasn't been getting the kills, Cole. It's been getting those placement points to go with them.
Yeah, they're happy to take that once more. Spot a bit of weakness, instantly go for the punish. Now they see Cappy on top. They realize, well, that's just one guy shooting as well. We're not scared of a solo, so they'll continue making their moves wherever they want to go. Almost set we're not either. No names. I'm going to find the rock in what is a playable spot for now. It's not a position for very long, but it puts them in the zone, and it puts them in a good spot to survive for now. I'm just a little bit worried because Algiri 3 are looking to get into nade range here. You could already see Hero running up. And if he gets a bit more support from his team and if he gets a chance to run on up, then he definitely will. So No-Name's got to be real careful here.
Yeah, I've never seen a team win from this position in any games that I've casted. It's kind of one of those spots where you play there to get a few more placement points and maybe a kill or two, but it's so hard to win. But you can't blame them because there's very little to play in a circle like this. As that nade almost catches the flush, but Cappy, last player alive, Blued is back, never lost hope, will get full information on his descent down the hill, so it's going to be a really rough spot to get out of. And look a little bit further south of this, we've got a 3-team crash as well, but Hero will move on up. He's closed the gap, but he can't go any further. Can Hero really get more aggressive in this now, or will he just... Oh. I've done that before, it's okay.
The problem is that they send a player forward that doesn't have any lethals, right? He only has flashes to work with, so even if he wanted to, he couldn't unleash the nades, the blue zones, not even the mollies. Nothing in his hands to do that now. Nabat steps around, takes a peek, and finds himself the first. Shiro on the other side, though, might do the trick. There's a lot of repositioning going on. Hero finds one with the DMR. I think Shiro might just find Nabat, but look at the angle. It's not quite working out. It's a messy fight for both these teams. And it's looking like no one is really the winner here, Gibson.
No, this happens all the time, though. Like a circle like this, there's so little to play. Nabat will peek around the side and find that knock on the Hero. So now you've only really got My Name is Hero and Topak as the last two players standing. Slam G dealt with by Fairy Tail. They dealt with a couple of teams way down to the south as My Name is Hero will now also fall. You see an attempt from Rox to get on out of there. Topak can't quite land the shots that matter, and they'll reclaim this Pride Rock position. And here comes Yetnek as well. They know there's only one player for Eogiri Tree left standing, so they're going to send it all in, pick up these points, and I think No Name, they've done well.
Done well to reset it so cleanly. Now Dante's going to get the first aid off as well. The nades are coming on in, trying to close it out. The Panzerfaust does a little bit more. There's a chance for Topic to pick around the side of the little pillar here. He's playing with fire, but he's keeping them busy for quite a while here. Now the push comes out, doesn't win the battle immediately. And Rox takes the 1v1. Confidence is key here, as he is in a bit of a precarious spot, but he does close it out, and he does finally allow them to move on here. They finally dealt with this. Tons of time invested, tons of moves being made, util expanded, but they do come out victorious, and they should be able to play the game from on.
Yeah, look at Bombay as well. He's got a good spot as we look a little bit further away as Miraku will get a knock onto Nosferatu. Fex down to just 11 HP will get that first aid off, but phase 5 and a long ways to go to get into the circle. Their only real rap choice might be to take this route to north, going directly towards Storm on request. Now 3 players up. They'll hear the vehicle rock up, so FaZe are playing for the fight. They're not going to drive on past. They want these points. Cappy is still up as well. Let's not rule out Cappy having a say on this battle as well, but I see a Panzer.
That's a problem, but do you really do anything about this? Gustav finds an absolute banger of a nade. Nail up cruising on in, on his lonesome, has to be careful, but I say that, he did have to be careful. Does get taken out, even gets himself flushed. That's a disaster. That should not have happened. Now Cappy's coming on in, trying to get the nades on over. Fex ready and waiting. Does he spot Cappy in time? He does. Just peeks on over. Closes things out. Foot is here to say hello, though. And oh my god, FaZe have got so much to do right now. 2 nades already being cooked at Gustav's feet.
Oh no!
The molly to do the trick as well. And I think Fex at this point is just happy to get on out. That was a little bit too much for FaZe to handle. 7 frags is going to be all she wrote. Xelias picks up the last one. But nice reaction from Foot to get up here so quickly as well.
Yeah, Foot realizing points were there to be had. They'll pick up those kills. A few more on the board and you wipe out FaZe Clan. 5 teams left alive. No Name is one. Fairy Tail another, having a great game with 9 kills on the board, having sustained multiple crashes over by Gymnasium a little while earlier. But now this is where No Name find themselves in a bit of trouble. You've got to get moving your way on over here. They're all piling up in the singular position, but the question is, do they have the utility to clear Fairy Tail after that long, drawn-out fight with Eos Gary Tree a little while ago? And I don't think they've got any. And look at that shift that's just been delivered to Bushido way up to the north. And you know that old phrase that you have to win the games that you're supposed to win? That shift has just told Bushido that this is the game that they're supposed to win. The question is, can they do it?
We've seen them fumble games out of this compound before, but they weren't quite as favored. They weren't quite as alone in this circle. This one, it seems that they should have this one in the books for sure. Now No Name as well falling up. They might take some damage here. Dante in a precarious position. Bushido get to be an annoyance in the north as well. If April has any sort of util towards Dante, that could do the trick, but Dante finds him first. It's looking good for the no-namers, but they are fighting for terrain that's not even going to be in the next circle, Gibson. They're just fighting for a few more kills and maybe 1 or 2 placements.
That's it. It's all about the points now, as you'll see a kill stolen away. Fairy Tail Yokari from Tun Sahur will find that one, as they also have 3 players up in the late circle. Brightside with the MG3. I remember, I think it was you that once said to me, I think you were doing a watch party, you were like, anybody peeks up over a ridgeline with an MG3 and it is curtains, but it's not quite curtains for No Name, as they managed to clean up that fight with Fairy Tail, and now it's a 4v3, v3, v1, 1 foot player left standing, and well, like what do you even do here from this position? You're way up, you're surrounded on multiple sides. How many points can they even get out of this now?
Yeah, it ain't looking good. But you never count out VOD.
Nope.
That should be a phrase like the one, there's games you're supposed to win. You gotta win those. There's
well, there is a saying about VOD.
Yeah, there's something with hard. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, it's sometimes it's not even hard for VOD. Sometimes I am hard for VOD. There's different ways to apply that, but it does get taken out in the end here. It's just too many eyes on him, and the same is going to be true, I think, for Tung Sahur here in a bit. I don't think they have a ton of space to really play out from here, and I like this from Bushido again. They're going out to get the kills while they still can, because they know that if they sit in their compound, they're not going to get a whole lot of them.
Yeah, that's it. You gotta... It's not just about getting the win. It's about getting the points to go with the win on top of that one, as well as Tun Sarur. They've got vehicles as some form of hard cover. Yes, they've got trees to deal with as well. But they're looking right now at this fight with No Name. They're the team that you want to deal with. There's a drop that has landed just beside Bushido that I think that they've managed to secure for themselves, which will even more so help their cause when it comes to trying to win this game. And I think with the zone about to shift, everybody's on the... Oh my god. Those shots... Like, I don't think the link should be in comp, because it's just too much of a cheat code.
It's too strong. When you put that thing into players' hands that know exactly how to hit their bullets, know exactly how to get the most out of each gun, it's absolutely crazy. But let's be fair, so is the P90, right? I mean, the P90 very, very different. It's a little bit more subtle in the things that it does, but it might even win more fights than maybe the Lynx does. The Lynx just a little bit more impressive. It's that loud gun. It makes everybody look at you. 3 and 2 now, and Bushido have lost a member. They have lost Metabay. Don't think they should have. I don't think that's the way they were hoping this would go. And I'll say it again. They've thrown this game before. They've thrown this circle out of this compound before, so it's not unheard of. But they really, really shouldn't.
I hope they don't, but at the same time, I'd love to see No Name win, because I'd said I'd never seen a team win from that rock they were playing earlier in the past, and they fought their way against 2 teams from that position. Either way, this is a 3v3v2. You can't really call this game yet, but Bushido certainly would be the favourites with the bookies at this point in time. And yeah, look at them. They're playing on the roof. They're getting tons of information. They're not really taking any risks in doing so. Plus, they've got the fact that you can ego peek with a level 3 gear. Like, Just don't get knocked. If you don't stick a stupid knock from No Name or you don't overpeak, you win this game.
Easier said than done sometimes.
Oh, I peek overpeak all the time. Like,
Yeah. Especially when the other side has some absolute cracked monkeys as well that will just 2-tap your head away. Dante's already on 4. That man's been warming up. Feeling good about this game. They're gonna wait. They're gonna wait to secure second place before they do anything crazy here. Gonna make sure that Tung 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 Sahur is not getting into any funny business on the south. And then they might try and take the fight. The no-namers here. We'll have to have a look at their youth, how many smokes they really have. That's gonna be a deciding factor. So Lynx rings out, and there's 6 smokes on one of the no-names players. There is 0 left for Tung 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 Sahur. So those guys, they're not making it into phase 8. No names, on the other hand, they might get pretty close to the compound with those 5 smokes, yeah.
they might just do it. The thing is now, you have 2 teams. Basically, Yetnek is keeping an eye on Tun 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 Sahur. The other team, or the other players, are keeping an eye, or Nabat exactly, is keeping an eye on what's going on. Bushido are also trying to keep an eye on this side of the road, but both of these teams are trying to pick up whatever points they can from Tun 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 Sahur a little further away. Now, there is a drop that might just provide a level 3 helmet, level 3 vest, which could help you with getting, you know, a couple more steps inside the circle. Good weapon. Oh my. A DPS.
Is there any drop gun that could be less useful for them right now?
I don't...
Observer doesn't think so. No. Observer man says no.
Imagine crawling up there and be like, yes, you know, maybe there's a Lynx, maybe there's a P90 and DBS.
Oh, Celtic. Spots
Can't
ahead.
waste those. You can't waste those bullets.
To be fair, I think he does see that head. I think he is able to shoot that head, but not the easiest gun sometimes when the bullet drop is so little. And it's a gun you don't get to shoot a whole lot, right? It's not your mini, it's not your QBU, it's not your MK12. It's not a gun that you've got millions of rounds put through. But he does connect one here. And with, I think, his last bullet, might go for another one. That being said, again, that gun would have been pretty helpful versus no names as well. And that fight is the one that's really queuing up. That fight is the one that's really going to decide who wins this game.
And Crossberg is going to bring that fight a little closer to the road. Smoke wall has now been deployed across the middle of the road. Bushido, send for the rock in the middle, but that might have just signed your own death warrant with that being the case. But the utility, those blue zone nades bounce a little too far away. That one, a little bit better. Maybe Saturkin will be able to met up, or maybe even just sit in the middle of that gap. And now Yednek makes his move a little closer towards the middle of the circle, a little closer towards Bushido. But can Akim maybe get an angle? You've seen a nade coming in from Akim, did a little bit of damage onto Saturkin there as well. And it feels a little bit like everybody's forgotten about Tun 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 Sahur on the other side of the circle. And he's going to step on up. Come on, hit those shots. 1 or 2 more, you find it out. But no, the suppressor allows him to dip back into cover. But sometimes forgetting about the solo could be a problem, but Dante will catch him out. But will he take one with him? Almost.
Not even sure if that was the play for no names. Not even sure if that was what they wanted to do. Yes, of course, it's another kill, but as long as he's keeping Bushido busy, he's actually giving you a chance to win this game. So if they could have managed to avoid him a little bit longer, that would have been massive. But now they see 2 players at the rock. They spotted another cross. Do they have any util to punish? I don't think so. One singular flash is going to have to do the trick, and the rest is all guns. They spot a Bushido player in the open. Dante instantly sees this, instantly wants to go left, instantly wants to isolate the 1v1, and he does find it. Brings it down to a 3v2, winnable for no names.
Yeah, this is really winnable now. Saturkin and Celtic, the last 2 players standing, but we saw what Celtic can do. 5 kills on the board. Saturkin will fall. No names now a 3-man assault, but Celtic will pop as 1. Peeks on out, gets the second, but he won't find the third. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. No names do what I thought they couldn't be done. Winning from that rock. 12 kills, 22 points. And every single win tonight has been double-digit kills, 20 plus points. Big game for no names there.
we were saying they're just fighting for a few kills and a placement point there, right? When they were at the edge of the circle, when they were just in that little bit of low ground, just scrapping it out, and we were saying, well, Bushido, these are the games you gotta win. They don't. Again, this is a bit of a pain point for Bushido because they get themselves into these late game situations. Even just today, I was talking about last week, but even just today, they've been in 2 winning spots. And they haven't been able to close out the games. Just, I think it was Metebe who went down there quite early. Just really comes back to bite them in that late game. And there's very few games that are more frustrating than this, Gibson. Just like the games that you feel like are for your wins, and then you manage to give it away. That's even worse than the rough games where you maybe only get 1 or 2 points.
Well, there's 16 teams in every single lobby, usually. Yeah, there's some times where you don't get everybody in, or some teams have more. But you're not supposed to win every game. It's as simple as that. Some games are not there for you to win. It's about picking up as many points as you can. The best teams in the world win the games that they're supposed to. The games where they get the circle, they get the strong compound. You know, the best teams in Europe do it. Like Navi do it quite frequently. Falcons do it all the time. You know, you look across inside of Asia, 17 Gaming, another team that do it alongside Twisted Minds. Like, you have to win those. And I think that if you don't lose Meta Bay, you probably do, but they'll be disappointed.
For sure. Again, they'll be okay with the points that they're getting in these games. They'll not be okay with how these games actually went. And that's one thing that, yes, in the end, they might get themselves to the top 8 here, and they will say, well, job done. But they will definitely look back at these and go, guys, we have to be better than this. We have to strive to be better than this. And they absolutely will. But let's talk about the winners as well. Let's talk a bit about No Names, because they were not supposed to win that. They were not even supposed to get that late into the game, but just scrapping their way on through. Good team fights all around, good resets. This was their first one that was really challenging for them. Everything works out. They clean everything up. They get themselves back on their feet, set themselves up for a nice late game, and just good stuff.
They played the Rock, and then they bailed on the position whenever Eos Gary Tree got close. Kind of played for a 2-2 split. Tun Sahur then got a knock, I think, from the other side, and No Names were right on it. Like, as soon as they saw that knock, they came back to the tree. Then inside the late game, again, you'd think that Saturkan and Celtic would win playing off of this Rock. But look at the way No Names played that trade. They hung on each other's shoulders. Like, yes, that opens you up to the spray transfer, but it also means that if your teammate falls, you're right in that position to trade it straight away. So all credit where credit's due to No Names, the way they played that in the end. And the main thing, Kowo, they kept the smoke grenades until they really needed them at the very end as well.
Exactly, right? We observers did us the favor of switching through the retail there, and they were the team with the most util almost. Bushido had a little bit left, but they had 6 smokes or 7 across the team, not including the smoke launchers, and that's what kept them alive, and that's what gave them a chance in the end. But we have one more break before we have the last game of the day for you guys. So we'll head to a short one. We'll be back in a few minutes, and then we have game number 4. So don't go anywhere.
Ni hao, I'm Tiger and Lilik.
No, Lily.
More steps toward unifying your Battlegrounds experience.
We are back one last time from the break. Game 3 already in the bag. It goes so fast, Gibson. I feel like these games just fly by. I just blink twice and the evening's over. We're looking at the last game already. We're looking at Erangel.
Yeah, and it's always my favorite place to finish in any single format, back to where it all started. But as you said, this format is blink and you miss it. And don't get me wrong, whenever all of the viewers at home spend all morning watching PGS or night, and then they want to watch EMEA, and then they want to watch America later on, it's not too bad whenever you've got 2-4-4s to finish thing off. But Bushido, we gave them we were a little bit annoyed they didn't get the win, but they're still the team on top of the leaderboard as things stand.
That's what I'm saying as well. Consistently getting themselves into position. Even on the Tago, where they weren't in the top 2, they still put themselves in the late game in a good spot and even ended up with a 4th place there, right? 16 placement points in 3 games. It doesn't sound that crazy, but they didn't win any of the games, right? So the maximum they could have gotten without winning a game is 18. They got 16. They got damn close to that. And they're showing that rotations matter and getting yourself into good spots matter. But then there's other teams on that leaderboard, like a Fairy Tail, like a FaZe Clan, who show you, but fragging out just works as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if they could add a couple more placement points to their tally, they'd be up on top of that leaderboard as well. But I think the way that FaZe Clan have played tonight, they're not going to be winning games. They're playing for the kills. They haven't really been gifted that circle that allows them to win the game. But let's take a look at the head-to-head between our top 2 teams. Like, Fairy Tail's average is 7, but I will put a little asterisk there and say it was skewed a little bit by how well they played on Rondo. Like, they survived 3 crashes inside of Gym, and they were able to take it away from Ascend, I believe, that as well. Like, they had a monumental game from that position, and it really boosted up their kill points.
Yeah, super interesting though, right? Because they got way more kill points. The average damage dealt is much lower, so it really goes to show that Bushido is sitting in these good compounds, and they are farming players around them. They are putting the damage in. They're just not rewarding themselves with the same amount of kill points. And again, the same thing as well. When you look at health recovered, you can also see that Bushido, they're sitting in good compounds. They're not being shot at as much as they're shooting, so they are really just dishing out a ton of damage towards everybody else in the lobby and surviving into the late games. But it doesn't matter that much when you don't get yourselves the wins. When it's only looking at a top 8 though, that is more than enough. So Bushido is well on track to qualify to the next Super Cup. They're well on track to make top 8 in this weekend. And even if they get 0 points in this last game, they'll be still looking at a good spot tomorrow.
And looking at the leaderboard as well, just before we kicked in, I think the cutoff point is 20 points at the moment. So going into tomorrow, any one of those teams in the bottom half of the lobby, if they get a win to kick things off tomorrow, they'll be sitting pretty. They'll be back in amongst the mix. Yeah, there we go. Look, 20 points is the cutoff. Apart, like even AO Gary Tree, a 10-kill chicken dinner, provided Storm on a quest, of course, don't get any, they're inside that top 8. And I think that, actually, I think looking at it, this is one of the tightest leaderboards that we've had after 3 maps, like 30, 29, 28, 27, 25. Like, the real drop-off doesn't come until you get to 10th place.
Yeah. Nobody's running away with things. And that's interesting because at the other side of the leaderboard, there is 3 teams that have 1 or 0 points, right? So that usually happens when teams at the top are sponging up everything. But no, it's just a really even split between the 2 teams at the top, the teams in the top 6, top 8, you might say. Just really splitting things quite evenly for now. And then, like you said, cutoff and fall off comes around the 8th place, around the 10th place, and there's another big gap. And it doesn't mean all that much just yet. It gives us a good idea of how things are going. But like you said, one big win for the last place team, and suddenly they're in the top 8. So everything is still super close. And looking at Gatka, things are a little bit close there as well. 2v2 hot drop, not something that you see a lot.
Yeah, why not? 2v2 inside of Gatka. You want to clean this up pretty quickly. You can see that OCAC are pushing AK at the ready, but it's a shotgun you are running towards, which is never really the weapon that you want to be dealing with in a situation like this. And I think OCAC, they're getting out of there. Recup is on the move, and the best thing about Recup now coming this way is, can he get there in time? That's the real question, right? Can you get there in time?
He should be. He should be able to get there in time. I love it as well. He's pushing that aggressively. He has the shotgun reload and just says, nah, I'm not getting in. I am just getting the hell out of there. Gets in the buggy, groups up with his team here, or even gets in an angle. I wouldn't have even minded him just grouping up. Sometimes just keeping it simple is not a bad idea. They could group up and take the numbers advantage. But if we've looked at the map as well, you can see that they are dead center of the circle. So there is an element of Okada saying, well, okay, yeah, we're in a bit of a hot drop, but we also like circle position. But I think they're consolidating now. He just picked up his teammate. They're going to take the 4v2, and they're going to take it now.
Yeah, and this gunfight is going to kick off. Here comes the crash, but it's still one thing to crash the position. It's another to clear players out. Now, Rocks, he's got no helmet. He's going to shoot. Yeah, look, no names are bailing as well. They're jumping out the back window. But can they get to the spawn? Like, usually they have a spawn on the opposite side. I think they have now secured that. So it's now a race for Eternal from OCAC to attempt to get around and do some real damage of note. Sprays through the smoke for a couple of tags of damage. Now the question is, can Eternal do it? I think he's left it too late.
Oh, the angle is so unfortunate. The pathing is perfect. The reach just saves them completely, and they do get away. And not only do they get away with their life here, they also get away with some of the most central compounds here, because the rest of No Names have taken position meanwhile and have secured themselves good spots in the center. Vorpal Swords, Hot Drop In versus Bushido. I think it's been a 1-1 trade. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think both teams have lost one. Nope, doesn't look like it. Still 4 up on the Vorpal Swords. So it is just Bushido on the other side who have lost a member. They have also killed someone, so if they didn't kill the Vorpal Swords, must have been a different team around them. I'm not quite sure who else was there.
I cannot see who would be. One-Eyed King will get a knock on the Celtics, so Bushido will lose another as they move off on their merry way inside the zone. But they have a long ways to go. Like, these teams, that shift has gone all the way over. I like to, because I'm on Europe, I can actually use the reference now, Cole. I always like to call these circles. Oh my god, great spray from Young. Let's see if we can get another. Pops it on out. He's down to 28 HP, but he'll get knocked. Yeah, you're not... Fuzzface ain't going to let you get away with that one from that sort of position as he finds that knock. But as I was saying, I like to call this circle the Iberian Peninsula circle, right? If you're in Europe, you know what I mean. It looks like Spain, Portugal. It's that whole section of the map. And it's a good position for teams that like to play inside McDonald's. It's a good position for teams that like to play inside a dumpling or chopsticks.
McDonald's.
The McDonald's compound. Yeah.
I'm learning so much today. Is that an NA call out? Is that America's language lingo? I'm not sure.
I was calling it that back when I did the EU scrims way back when I first started. You know,
It's just a Gibson special. I've actually never heard of that.
Yeah, it's you know what I'm talking about though, just north of Quarry, on the Big M.
Oh,
because it's
the
a
God
Big M.
compound.
Yeah, because it's an M, so it's McDonald's.
Okay. I mean, yeah, sure.
You can see it.
I can see it. I can see it now. Couldn't see it before, but you've opened my eyes. As yeah, game 4 antics in full effect. Everybody's going for the kills as soon as they see the knocks in the kill feed. Crossbow gets it. One with a gas can explosion on the Vorpal Swords. That is not how they wanted this to go. I think that's a flush with a gas can. A little bit of a ritual going on. Maybe just striking back. Sets himself on fire, but, you know, that's okay with him as long as he sends the message.
Well, it's a sacrifice, right? He's got to put something in himself as well, I guess, as he steps inside the flames. Tun Sahur getting crashed here inside of the crates in South George, but it looks like Amana will just get on out of there, live to fight another day and join the rest of his team who are up on top of Everest, peeking down on top of this one. I love playing Everest this early in the game. Like, if you've got the ammo, if you've got the sights and everything you need, you get so much information on a circle like this, and really the only... It takes a lot for a team to crash this position, and you know as well as I do now, looking at the map, that for a team to crash them, they've got to go through a lot of other teams as well.
Yeah, and you'll see them coming. You'll see them coming from a mile away, and... especially if they have Dacias and they try to get up the hill, it won't be easy. One-Eyed King releases on the rest of Formulation Gaming. He has no idea that Marsalek is right on his doorstep. Probably has no idea about Incense either. And just like that, Marsalek will pick it up, say, well, thank you. We could use a few points, and we will take whatever we could get. Ascend, same thing. They see a fight, they hear a fight. They hit the Z key to turn the motors off. I say that. Is Chris or Brex actually still in full speed? Just gonna go on past. Over-rotating this is the prio. They don't want to just be waiting around for some free frags. They want to get towards this zone. So I actually read that one wrong. Both of these teams just trying to get into position.
Yeah, well, on the wrong side of the leaderboard, as I see that someone in formulation had a nade at the ready. Elsewhere, Slam G, Lurex could be in a spot of trouble here as Belief will go on past, but I said he might be in a spot of bother. This is Lurex we're talking about. He'll get the first knock, but you've still got Tabble coming behind you. Maybe Tab will get the angle. One player down. I never lost hope. He'll not be losing hope that his teammate can do, but that's a great 4x spray there on the Og. Boostic is down as well. So we've got multiple casualties on both sides. I think Table, or is it Tab or Table, is the only player left up for Belief. And does he try to get these flushes? He secures one, but does he move? Oh, here's Fairy. Yeah, why not? Let's get Fairy Tail as well.
Let's get everybody involved, shall we? And, well, Tabby's an option for me as well, to be honest. I should probably go and ask him, as it's not looking good for them, but my god, it's not looking good for Ascend. We saw them get the opening knock and the kill feed onto Formulation Gaming there, but taken out cleanly, as cleanly is probably about the opposite of what we can say about this fight. As messy as it gets, Slam G losing at least 2, yep, already lost 3. The same is true for Belief here in a matter of seconds. Whenever Tartarin is out, they're going to be down to just 1. So an absolute mess on that northern side, and, well, maybe I was right after all. Maybe these teams are pretty fight hungry. Maybe these teams are happy to pull on up. As Formulation Gaming looking to get the better end of this.
Yeah, a couple more points for them. And, you know, they did lose someone in that fight. Marsalek was dealt with, so he'll be done for the night. But Formulation, point to point. You know, you get yourself a few more on the board. I think that conversation is always had. Like, how many players is worth one player on your team's life? And you're always going to take 3 or 4 as a trade for one player if that opportunity ever arises. Not only that, by winning that fight, they've given themselves good pathing into the circle. Like you can see, Pachinki's free, Ruins is free, Boatyard, like they're spoiled for options when it comes to moving into the circle. And with a little bit of luck with the phase 2 shift, they could find themselves in a really good position.
For sure. It's true for many teams actually here, because once again, we're down to 39 players, Gibson. So there's so much space in this circle now. Everybody can try and get away with something. Foot is the team that's most obviously benefited by this shift, but then we also have Tung 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 Sahur on the mountaintop there. We do have Storm on Request grouping up in some of the best compounds in the circle, even scouting on further towards a compound that I'm interested to hear your name for, because that compound has so many callouts. We'll see it in a second. I'll get back to that, but plenty of teams on good sends, plenty of teams in good compounds here, and plenty of teams getting away with a good bunch of the space, because there just is so much space right now.
Are you talking about Package, aka DMB, aka Plug and Socket?
Wow, I know I've heard many callouts for this compound. Neither of those were on the list, but hold that thought. FaZe is getting into something here.
FaZe Clan Eogiri Tree is the target. You know, FaZe Clan have been a little bit lacking for placement points, but the kills they have found with ease. Now, playing by this road, they'll fall back. Vex is down, so Nailup needs some cover. Well, he doesn't really need cover. He's able to find the knock himself onto My Name is Hero. But Gustav will arrive over and confirm that kill out. So FaZe Clan picking up their second. And with the other couple of players inside of, you know, Harry Potter, they'll just sit up there in the tower and maybe put some pressure down towards the rest of FaZe Clan, who, like, how hungry are you for these points?
Very. When you're FaZe Clan, you're hungry for every single fight, and that's the gameplay they've been showing us in these cups. They don't give a damn, because they know they're good enough. They know they're gonna qualify to the finals. They know they're gonna qualify to the Super Cup. They don't feel threatened by any of this. They don't feel threatened by any team in the lobby or by any circle. They just want to fight. They just want to have some fun, get into some scrappy engagements. Not roll down your hill in a car, but it's a good save anyways from Hero and the rest of Oguri Tree. But yeah, FaZe gameplay is very aggressive, very pull up, flying into things, and it sort of works out most of the time. But it works out well enough to get them out top 8 here, and I'd be very surprised to see them drop out.
Right. Which compound are we speaking about again, so we can get onto that conversation? Because I think I might have been thinking about the wrong one.
Oka is in. Right below Everest. Straight below Everest.
Oh yeah, the twins. No, that's not the
twins.
twins.
No, not the twins. Not the Invisibles. Yeah, plug socket or whatever the heck.
Yeah, it's not that. Plug socket is the one that that Mavra is going to south of hospital.
Ah, okay. Oh yeah, plug socket, really?
Yeah, you know the UK and Irish style plugs.
Yeah, but there's different names that work for that compound that are so established, no?
D and B and package are kind of the main two. Yeah. I know. But can we say it on main properly though? Can we say it with the chest?
I'm not sure. We're dangerous water here. So
We'll move on.
Yeah, we'll move on. We'll think about it when phase 3 comes around, when we see another circle pop. But no, the compound I meant is the one right below Everest. So that has a ton of different names. It's been interesting as well, watching PGS and listening to the Falcons POV and getting some of the call outs from the other regions going. But there it is. A phase 3 shift, and it's a phase 3 shift right onto Everest, straight into the north here. A lot of the solos that are coming out of the scrambles on the north are going to be laughing at this because that means a good way in for them. But a lot of the teams on the south are suddenly find themselves in pretty congested areas here, Gibson.
Yeah, and Eos Gary Tree might just be about to move. Pressure coming in from Foot, who've got the 2-2 split. 2 players inside of Rocket, 2 players inside of Twins. I think they're going to maybe try play one of these little crags that you can get yourself in going up on top of Everest. But you spoke about it, the POV streams. A lot of these teams, Ko, they've got calls for compounds that only they know. As Fairy Tale will push on by Formulation Gaming, the target. 2 players down. Brightside will fall, leaving it all down to April. But April may just do it in this situation. Goes for the res on the conf. But this is a big fight between these teams because nobody else is going to third party anytime. I said that. Our Freesider's going to third party now that I've put that evil onto Intense.
Chance. Intense gets one of the nades out. Was probably hoping to get that out a little earlier, but he might catch April on the second res. The underhand nade can do a whole lot of damage there. It bounces nicely into the building. That's not where he wanted it, but it works out either way. And just like that, he's put it down into a 1v2. He's put this into a very, very doable situation. And if he does any more damage, you really can't just doubt this anymore for Freeside. If you're rolling up into a 1v1 here as Freeside, that's about as good as it gets.
Yeah, look, you can even sustain a knock or two knowing that the numbers will eventually overwhelm the opposition, but Intense is using all his utility. 2 smokes left to work with. You've got Conf on the outside of the door. There's that third party as shots come in from Eos Gary Tree, actually, that are the ones from Everest that are putting some pressure on the Conf. While all that was going on, I think Brightside dealt a little bit more damage onto Intense, but we will have a look at elsewhere. Storm on request and No Names battling it out here by the Ice Cream Shacks as they'll trade players back and forth, but Storm on request will win the battle, get up to 4 kills, and they should get these reses off.
Should get these reses off, but we saw Akeem on the map as well. He was looking, right? He was ready to get in there, ready to get involved and punish. But seeing the fight end so cleanly, you pull back and you play your own game and can't fault him for that. Fairy Tale now, they would love to clear this up. They would love to take control so they can at least try and play out of the compound later on. But they don't want to walk into a shotgun. They don't want to walk into a good setup from Intense, right? So the respect is there, especially when they've already been outside and been third party, been shot at from range. They know it's not going to be easy. But they'll wait for the time. They maybe wait to do some damage or at least get some information on Intense. Which room he is exactly in is already super helpful. I say that. They've just pushed across and they've pushed up alone. Conf is pushing this. But he's not even accompanied by his teammate. Brightside is just staying in the other building. That's a bit of a question mark for me.
Yeah, that's a little bit disappointing there, you would say, for them to give away that kill for free, but that's exactly what they've done in this situation, and it's more points on the board for the side of Formulation Gaming. Gustav on the other side, north of George for FaZe Clan. 3 kills for them. Spots out, sorry, I am crazy, for the Freesiders as they move on in as well. Circle did pop a little further south and kind of left Everest plus the Twins and that North Gatka compound as the only real spots with hard cover inside this circle. Which of these teams on the north hard send it for that gap on the north side of Everest? You know that little bowl north of Eos Giri? Like, one of them are surely going to send for there.
Freeside.
Yeah?
FaZe is going for kills and the compound has to dissolve their fight first, so they're not sending anything. Freeside will be the one team to go for Everest, but they are going for the far wrap as well, because they also realize that's maybe the less occupied version. It's a pretty rougher terrain, but the easier rotate. So far, it's been okay for them. They've at least got themselves into crates, and they can reset from there. They were getting a little bit too close for comfort with FaZe Clan. They realized Gustav shooting us in the back, different players shooting us from different angles. They didn't want any of that. And oh no, I was about to say, they have now reset and they can get into the rotate. But Kantix running himself over is going to cost him some very, very valuable time. That's 10 seconds for a res. That's another few seconds for the first aid. And Blue's going to be right on their back. They won't have any time to waste. They got to send it without doing a whole lot of scouting here. So that actually costs them a lot here, Gibson.
Yeah, and Saturkin going inside the blue as well at this point might just be forced to take those shots if push comes to shove. Brightside in this battle with Intens continuing on, and Intens really has their number. But here is the rocket ship crash. There is the first few knock coming in. Oh my word, as players fall on both sides of this battle. And T-Bone, he is pushing in a little bit closer up to the fray as well. Is Vard. I think that's Fex that's pretty close by. Nailup is inside the flat top as well. But another kill confirmed. Can we see a winner in this fight? And with that, Foot have completely vacated Twins as well.
Big clear. Big clear. Nice setup for them as well. The pre-nade with the peek around the corner. Beautiful stuff for Foot, and they quickly turn that into their favor, and they quickly turn it into a situation that is manageable and under control. So they take out FaZe Clan here. Brightside finally gets the better side of Intense. Finally gets to stop the rampage of the Norwegian captain of that squad. 4 frags, I think it was, for Intense. And so far, the best game for Formulation Gaming, but not enough to get themselves into placement points as we see that map, and we see tons of solos creeping their way on in. Tabby's still alive. Katurkin coming out of the crates as well. Everybody is on the blue heel.
Oh, that
is a beautiful mortar. How good is that?
That was so close. Surely it was the train. Surely it was the train. Another one landing. If this was on a flat bit of ground, both of those players would be down and out without question. That, like, you can't even fault that. That was so well aimed. It's just the terrain works against them. Another one will be sent up into the sky as the placement point window has now opened. This one goes a lot deeper than the others, and they won't find anyone for it. But keep an eye on this fight. 3 teams on Everest now. 4 teams really if you include Eos, Gary Tree, and Table is in a battle against the blue.
Everybody's fighting their own battles. Everybody has their own demons. Tung 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 sahur. They're looking down at everything from the top. Might find themselves a bit of an angle. Might spot some of the solos as well. Akeem. Oh, okay. Looks around. Spots his teammate behind him. Does not have a good idea about where Tabby is. And it's going to be a little tricky. They should have a good lock on that fight. It should be very delayed though, because none of these teams have a reason to fight. But once these solos come out of the blue, once they creep up right next to you, things get real tricky real fast.
Yeah, No Name's pushing up as well. Nabat will get the knock. Yetnek finds another one onto Okat a little further away. The split from No Names is a big one, but now Yetnek will move from the blue as well. But will enough damage be dealt onto him that maybe Okak are able to land the 1 or 2 shots necessary? Hero inside the smoke, just looking to bide his time and wait, but that's kind of changed Tun Sahur's plans, because they were so focused on what was ahead of them. Now they need to split their focus. And where are you sending this? Like, I've just seen that. I think that was A-Man that sent that one up onto this guy. What's his aim like as Hero now steps out from the smoke?
I think he's trying to mortar that exact fight, but he's going a little far. He doesn't account for the fact that these bullets are flying down the hill, maybe. And he's got to be careful for himself, like we said, right? Solos around them. Free set that maybe wants to move on up. The second shot is much, much better. He's actually providing issues now. And he's doing damage as well. Hero has to be careful. No namers have to be careful. They're taking knocks. And it's an absolute battlefield here as A-Man is just having a bit of fun from the top with that mortar. And you can see Tung 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 Sahur. They're just shooting off at everybody in this lobby right now. Every direction. But again, I'll say it again. I'll be the boring guy. This can go badly for them real fast.
Well, I'm just keeping an eye on what their inventory management is like as well, not just with nades and smokes, but when it comes to ammo as well. Like, that Groza chews through ammo so incredibly fast, so you've got to be so careful with which fights that you take. The zone will keep Everest deep inside of its claws as all these teams now need to move. You've got a Foot working their way on in. Yetnek is hiding in the cover, and Yokari, well, ammo not really a problem for him yet. 137 rounds in reserve. Probably got a 5.56 primary there as well. I didn't quite see what that. And there we go. Look, Tabby, he manages to step on up. He comes from the blue and he finds a kill. The solo warrior picking up that extra point. Now can he find even more, or will Tun Sahur get some revenge?
Yeah, now look at Arman as well. Yeah, sure, he wins that 1v1, but he was down to 10 HP. If he gets knocked on the other side, suddenly the game is over for the Tung Sahurs. Now, Tabby wide in the open, can't go anywhere else. He's gonna get picked up by Yokari. So they do claim control of the top, but I'll say it again, Arman is very, very alone versus some very capable players on that southern angle. So they're playing dangerous games, and they might get themselves dangerous prizes. Eternal makes things hard though for the no-namers. Picks up one and is looking to confirm that with a nade, or looking to at least put more pressure on, but nading up the hill is harder than down. It doesn't matter. Vard is there from the other side. The no-namers are blowing up just as Recap is.
Yeah, Vard will go down though as well, so all these teams suffering casualties. But here comes T-Bone with the FAMAS, and T-Bone will confirm out hero as Aogiri Tree will fall in 6th. Now they focus further up the mountain. The res will come off on the other side of things as no names will get wiped as well. Another quick spray, another team falls. It's a 4v3, v3, v1. Okak still with Eternal alive. These teams know that he's there, but they know that he is not really the biggest problem as things stand. Tun Sahur know that Foot are the clear and present danger, and that's where they're fully focused at the minute.
Managing to reset it into a 3-man situation at least. I say that. Not a real reset for Akim. He's still just 1v4ing Foot here on the front lines. So the rest of the squad is holding control of the zone, holding control of the high ground as well. I can't call it a 1v4 with Yokari having such an impactful angle from the top, but the second he gets distracted, the second he maybe gets headshot, things can turn very ugly. Ammo situation, you touched on it. Aman, 8 bullets in the mini, 0 reserve. Akim, 18 reload. They've been firing off. They've been having fun. 500 damage on Aman as well. That man's got 8 bullets, and he's shooting the ground to show presence. That's crazy to me. That is crazy.
And, like, is it? I keep forgetting to look to see what he has as a secondary. Is it another 5.56 weapon at this point?
Yeah, it's an AUG.
Yeah, you need to, like, you see the player there. Surely you just saw, sorry, I am crazy. Like, his head
he only sees the backpack. Maybe
yeah.
Does he think it's a dead body?
It's too late. Like, when was the last time a player died there?
Yeah.
Like, maybe this kill could be the ammo that you need as well, but the blue zone is going to start closing. It's phase 7, and Foot not. Look at that shift. Foot have just been delivered the circle on a platter. I would love to see Freesiders, maybe Cantix and Maver, just move south. Get inside. Stop focusing on Tun Sahur a little bit further on and leave Sorry alive. Let him be a thorn in the back of Tun Sahur's side.
Yeah, I think that's a good play, actually. I think that's a good play. You have to just say, well, that guy's on his own, and we have to make the run. But they are committing for now. They are holding, as they are still alive. They don't quite know what the situation is to the south. They don't quite know what Esports has been cooking up, and they're just trying to get Sorry into a livable spot. That being said, he's not the only one under fire, so are they. Now, Sorry, I'm crazy. Takes a ton of damage, and Arman, yes, he gets more damage in, puts himself onto 600. There's no knock there. There's no points being rewarded. And he's got 3 bullets in that mini. 1, 2, 3.
No!
Oh, 5 bullets would have maybe got the knock. Now the AR comes out. 3 more bullets in the AUG. The last one does it. He gets the knock. The blue zone claims the kill, but he's out of this game until he gets bullets.
What's he gonna do? Just scout and punch? Like, go on, give him some ammo. He's got 44 now.
That's not a lot. That is not a lot.
And Yokri's just like almost halved his inventory of bullets now as well, as he finds himself in a rough spot. Akeem, he's pretty low as well, as Miraku will get one. There's another one from Vard. It's all going wrong from Toon Sarur, and it's a 4v2 now for the win, and surely Foot will get themselves another couple from this position.
Surely. They'll close this one out. Vard already knows where Mavr is. That's a good idea. Does he know where the second player is? I don't think they know where Kantix is. He is the ace up the sleeve, but Maverick is so known. And oh, nice peeks from Pixelate coming on in. Good damage. Might be a bit of util to close it out. Yeah, there's an 8 and then blues on Vard as well, but he has everything that he needs and all the time in the world to use it. Just kind of take it slow. I wonder what they think the second player is doing, because they seem all laser focused in on Mava. So they must think that they're both there. They must not realize there is a chance for Kantix on a different angle. That game is now up, and Kantix not getting the knock here is absolutely disastrous for Freeside.
If it was anybody other than Pixel with the level 3 gear, you get that knock there. That vest and helmet worth its weight in gold. Now we're seeing blue zone nades being thrown this way, but I don't think the bloom is going to go far enough. Kantix, though, will find Vard. So just stop. The count is not quite over just yet, as he had a nade in his hand. So that kill will go towards the Freesiders. So it's a 2 versus 2 of standing players. Great nade from Mavr, and Foot are just falling apart at the seams. And if these two Freeside players can regroup, there's a win in this for them.
No way, that's not supposed to happen. 3 gear on Mava now as well. So every chance in the world to win a fight. Pixelic has all the high ground in the world, all the angles, all the info he could ever need. But if T-Bone gets traded at the bottom here, all of that is not going to help him a whole lot. I think he gets a bit of a spot there, or at least gets a bit of an inkling. T-Bone might be at the bottom. The flashes continue to rain on in. Kantix wants to go for the flush first. He also doesn't have a whole lot of ammo.
No.
T-Bone gets one with the FAMAS looking to close it out. The info is there from Pixelic. The trade comes out. And Foot consolidate what was a messy late game into a 13-kill win at the end.
Oh, it's 23 points on the board, but you could just see it for Kantix, right? It was that situation where you know there's a player behind the tree, but then you see the down guy and you're like, oh, that's another point I can confirm. Instead of thinking the long game and just running and helping your teammate with a fight, you go, point. I've done it. We've seen everybody do it. But that little decision right there probably bit them a little bit in the end as well.
It could have, but to be fair, when he doesn't flush, then the knock guy is always just going to live marker you, right? He's going to give every bit of information over to his teammate, and you T-Bone can be sitting there getting nades out, getting flashes out, doing whatever he wants to. So, yeah, I get it. But in the end, sometimes it's the right decision as well. You don't really know how it's going to pay out. But again, a good consolidation from Foot there in the end, using the tree for T-Bone. He's delaying to let Pixel do as much work as he can from the top, right? It's a good comeback in the end, but man, they almost gave that out of their hands.
Yeah, and Freesiders, that win would have really rocketed them up the leaderboard as well. But you know what? Second place, a couple of kills on the board. They'll be moving the right direction, that's for sure. As we look back, though, on the night, this kicked things off here on Miramar. This send is what won the game for Vorpal Swords. Identifying the Crossberg was all alone. He got distracted a little by the Murado, but the FAMAS wins those. And then I believe that keeping was it Crossberg that they kept up on the high ground to feed that information? That was so good for Vorpal Swords in the first game of the night.
I think it was One-Eyed King.
One-Eyed King.
Up at the top there, just doing all the work for him. And winning them that late game. But yeah, like you said, like clean execution of that send. Love to see that. And love to see that coming out from teams that aren't regional partners, right? Teams that have a little bit more open qualifiers to play than a Bushido maybe does. No names. Good games from them tonight. I think solid games from them. Good consistency, getting away with a win that they should have never ever gotten away with. And consistently putting frags on the board, while teams like Bushido getting themselves into basically every late game, but then just fumbling the bag here or there a little bit.
And that's going to happen. At the end of the day, there's 16 teams inside a lobby, so you know you're not going to win every single one. They'll be disappointed, but they'll be up there among the top teams and probably already through the next Super Cup, as we just see how Slam G won that second game of the night. But and I want to give a lot of credit, right? I think that Celtic had himself a hell of a day. Like, for individual flash moments like this one we're seeing right here, Celtic went big.
For sure. And mechanically, that was super, super clean, right? That game, that fight, taking control of it, no problem at all. Looking really, really good for Bushido. Just in the end, throwing this one away a little bit. This is where we said, these are the games you gotta win. But again, put themselves in the position first and fought for that position first as well. So, well-deserved top-end finish for Bushido in that game. And well-deserved frags for Fairy Tail in this one as well, right? They were farming that southern side. You talked about it. Clearing up the compounds, picking up all the stragglers, and getting themselves in a good spot.
Yeah, and I think when you look at the way the team went, like, was there any teams that were in the bottom half going into that game that you think showed enough that you'd be confident they can get themselves out of that hole going into tomorrow?
Sure, for sure. We'll have a look at the leaderboard in a bit as well, and then we'll talk more about tomorrow. So we are going to be closing it out, and some of the teams I feel like I've already almost done enough, but it's not been a team running away with things, right? It's not been a single team stringing together all the games. It's not been a single team coming away with multiple chicken dinners. So the leaderboard is going to be quite tight. It's going to stay interesting. I believe Foot should be at the top now, but I haven't done the maths. I don't really know. We'll see in a second. But whoever is at the top will not have locked it in just yet.
Yeah, another thing worth bringing out as well, as you spoke about it, nobody's running away with it. We've had 4 maps, 4 different winners, double-digit kills for those teams every single time as well, as we had 2 11s to kick off the night and then a 12 and a 13 to finish things off. That's the moment that Aman got the knock with the final bullet he had in reserve. But there's the knock. Cantix then, he steps on up, but with the off angle being there, you're never going to win that fight. And that's how Foot got it done. And let's not forget, Foot had that massive crash with FaZe just a few minutes before that they had to deal with inside of Rocket Ship.
Yeah, exactly. And if they aren't set up for that, and if they don't play that well, yeah, maybe they lose it, or at least they lose members, right? Like even a messy crash, you can win it sometimes, but if they just lose 2 there, then their game is completely different, and then somebody else runs away with that southern side, gets all the kills up there, gets to play into Everest and win the game. So could have been a completely different story if, except for getting a knock, maybe VOD gets knocked, right? That's how fast PUBG sometimes goes. The butterfly effect is absolutely huge, and Foot deservedly win that last game. Good to see them pop off as well, because they had a really, really rough Super Cup, but I guess they were playing with a sub, so it doesn't really count.
It happens from time to time, right? You'll have situations like that, and I believe there will be changes on the roster tomorrow, but we'll leave that surprise to all the viewers at home. You don't want to give it away just yet, but while we wait for the leaderboard to come up, we do want to remind everybody at home that you can take part in these PUBG Players Cups. All you got to do is sign up, !register in chat. That'll bring you to the Challenger Mode website, where you can sign yourself up to play on scrims on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I believe they're best of 3s, so it only takes about 2 hours max of your time, probably a little bit less, and you have a chance to qualify for the cups to play on the main PUBG channel, where of course you can also watch NA later on tonight, and early in the morning if you're based in EU, you can kick things off by watching the second day of PGS as well.
100%. We're going to start them on Monday, and like you said, best of 3s. And the thing is that I always point out, because I think it's a game changer, is you don't have to play all of the days. There is a team again here, I think it's Vorpal Swords, who are here, who only qualified playing 3 of the days, because that was enough for them to get the points they needed. And then you can also play with different lineups. You can always play with different lineups on every single day. So if one of your mates can't play the Tuesday, that's not a real problem. So get yourself in those games, get yourself qualified for the next Players Cup. But I am told by the wonderful production, we have a leaderboard. We can finally see what's up. Gibson, give us the breakdown.
So, like you said, Foot will rocket themselves in the top spot, and they'll also secure their way through to the next cup with that 43 points. Yes, they will turn up tomorrow, but they've done the hard work today. Elsewhere down the table, No Names, Fairy Tail, Bushido drop a couple of spots, as do Vorpal Swords. FaZe find themselves dropping as well, but 23 kills. They've been pretty frag heavy. But I'm looking for movers and shakers on the other side of things. Formulation Gaming, that was their best game of the night to finish things off. They're 6 points off that cutoff point as things stand. But great job, Tun Sahur. They find themselves in 8th place. They've got a chance now going into tomorrow to qualify through to that cup as well.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff from them in the last game. Just fragging out a bit. Arman with that mortar, doing a bit of work, running out of bullets in the end. but they have put themselves in a solid spot. Same for Slam G. Same for pretty much everyone on the leaderboard. I think even Belief tomorrow is still fine. They're 12 points behind in 4 games, right? That's not the end of the world. And then everyone above Formulation Gaming is literally in 1 game's reach, right? 6 points is nothing. That can be caught up in 1 game, and we're going to play 4 of them tomorrow. So super stacked towards the top and super stacked towards that sort of 5th to 12th place, which is where all the movement happens at the end. I think we're just going to see another day tomorrow where it's going to get decided in the last few games.
And that's always the way. You want to go into that final game with there only being 4 teams. What are the teams battling out for? Well, the prize pool isn't really what the teams are going for. The top 4, of course, will get a reward for a short week's worth of weekends worth of work. But the main thing is qualifying for the cups and the super cups and the masters. The masters in particular, they're the ones you want to be in, right? Because that's where the real prize money is.
Yeah, just as a clarification, they were going to have a 5 times increased prize pool for the Super Cup that you're going to be playing in. So we're going to play for $5,000, and that's obviously where everybody wants to go. Getting yourself the $400 doesn't hurt at all.
Nope.
But you want to be playing for those 5,000 in the next Super Cup. And like you said before, right? Practice is a real thing. We talk about this, and viewers would say, yeah, but these guys, they're practicing almost every day, every week of their lives. They're trying to practice PUBG to be the best team they possibly can. They will take real tournaments over scrims any day of the week, and they're super happy to just be playing these.
100%. But I think that brings us to the end of the night. I won't sign us off because I am the imposter here on the night, but I do want to say it was a pleasure filling the boots of Falex and Mark this weekend. Obviously, they couldn't make it today. I believe Falex is back in tomorrow, but cool. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for teaching me some new sayings, teaching me some new compound names. I've written some of them down. Johnny on the spot is one that I hadn't heard before. Now I do. Beautiful stuff. Thanks for coming on. We had a lot of fun together, and I'm sure you'll have more fun in Americas. Not later on tonight, I hope. I hope you're not doing the double shift.
It's 4 hours from now, so good to go.
Working double time. Double overtime for the man. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching, everybody. Tomorrow, same time, same place. Different casters, but same PUBG action for you. So stay tuned.